Welcome everybody to Encounter Roleplay once again. My name is Will. I am your dungeon master. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just your host.
Hey,
Mitch is our dungeon master, our games master tonight as we play Numenera. We're entering the ninth world once again. Mitch, are you ready? How are you feeling?
I am ready. I'm recovering from Saturday night slash morning
Yeah.
when we shared dawn together in my window here. But yeah, I'm feeling
Yours
good.
was an hour early, but yes.
Yes, indeed. So we have Josh and Beth with us today, who are joining us for the first time. How are you guys
Yeah,
doing?
we're good. We're good. I was just
Very
real
good.
quick. What is going on with the hair, dude? Like you've got this one tuft, and I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Yeah,
a
going
horn.
for Wolverine today.
That's the job tuft actually. That's for you.
Yeah.
It's your tuft.
Just a little.
That's your task, Josh.
I love it. I feel special.
How's it going, Flynn? How's it going, Return from Ashes? It's amazing. How are you boys all
Yeah,
doing
let's
today?
get some of this dungeon rolling.
Yeah. So,
Although did I wipe myself again at the end of last time? I think I did.
maybe you did, maybe you did. Do we want to do a kind of recap of what happened last time?
Yeah, give us a
Yeah, that
recap.
that'd be
So.
Yeah,
kind of helpful.
I'm gonna do a little summary of what happened to our first pair of adventurers here in this party, and then what we'll do is we'll sort of push pause there in terms of the timeline of the story and introduce Beth and Josh's character, and we'll roll some connections for them because it'll work out that they've already sort of met as a pair. You and Cord have met as a pair, and then the four of you will come together in hopefully what is not flaming glory or some kind of hot mess. Hopefully it'll work out well with the four of you. So last time, Seto Yashwan, Will's character, a sort of Asian-esque inspired samurai, martial warrior, master of weapons, met up on the road with a man who was rather eager to leave the imperial province of Navarine. A Mr. Jeckley, Jack, who seemed to have an affinity with interacting with machines, electronics, that type of thing. And so these two fellows were heading in the same direction. They were both heading to a small village known as Faston, and they were hoping in Faston they'd be able to catch a caravan, take a caravan out to a place called the Amber Monolith, which is a big landmark in the area. It's about 2,000 feet high, about 500 feet off the ground, this giant stone pillar. Once a year, there's a large gathering at the base of this pillar where a number of sort of spiritual figures, religious figures, gather to make sort of mass pilgrimages north of the river, which is the border of this province. Everything north of the river, for those in chat who weren't here last week, as well as for Beth and Josh, north of the river is this sort of barren landscape of sort of rolling hills and rocks and mountains. But it's also notable for these purple crystals that are sort of populating the whole area. And these crystals somehow are not affected by gravity. So they are kind of
Pretty.
floating all over the place. Everything from little sort of slivers and shards to some crystals the sizes of cities, with giant craters underneath where they were seemingly ripped up from the ground. So most people in the world think that there's a strong sort of spiritual significance to this place, and hence the annual pilgrimages into these sky fields, the crystal sky fields. Sort of complementing this annual pilgrimage, there's always a ton of mercenary work. So something of a tent city sets up every year underneath the Amber Monolith, where mercenaries of all stripes gather to be hired as sort of private security or escorts for these various degrees of squishy religious figures who are going to risk stepping outside of the comfort and security of the imperial province into the sort of wasteland which is known for its bandits and strange creatures. So that was where Seto and Jeckley were headed to this tent city at the base of the Amber Monolith. They had some interesting run-ins on their way, but I'll keep that secret for now. I'll let them choose what they feel is what they'd like to disclose about their strange run-ins in Faston. But otherwise, we will introduce Beth and Josh's character. Beth, first off, just because I know a lot of your followers in the stream who are really big and up on D&D from the past games you guys have run, we're always sort of stopping when we can to point out the differences in rules with Numenera. So given that Numenera characters have that three-piece description, the descriptor, the type, and the focus, or the adjective, noun, verb, what is your three-part description of your character, Beth?
Okay, my name is Alithia, and I'm a naive Jack who bears a halo of fire.
A what, Jack?
Naive.
Knave. Knave.
No,
No,
you're
naive.
What are you saying?
Naive.
Naive. Got it. Wow, I thought you were saying knave. I was like, what does that
I
mean?
thought you
Dave.
several times.
No, a naive Jack who bears a halo of fire.
Very cool. And we'll come back and do more about your character in a sec. Josh, what is your three-part description?
Yeah, I am Maximus, Maximus Coro, and I am an honorable nano who travels through time.
Sick.
Right on. Now, it's great because Numenera doesn't really require party composition, but it's always really cool flavor-wise when you have a diverse party, so I'm glad we have Jacks, Nanos, and Glaives. This is fun stuff. So we'll go back to Beth. Beth, what does Alithia look like? What would one see if Alithia were to walk into a tavern? What would be her physical sort of description?
She's small, very slight and slender, with long white blonde hair that contrasts with the black clothing she wears. She wears black clothes with kind of bright blood red embroidery on them, and then this jet black cloak with a hood. And yeah,
Any visible weapons on your person?
not visible.
Very good. That's cool. And Josh, what would one see if one were to be introduced to Maximus, the nano who travels through time? And if you want to have like a New York Yankees baseball hat or something, that's totally cool. That's totally fine.
It's entirely possible. I do actually have the basic cap on. So yeah, he's wearing a faded sort of very worn-looking khaki jumpsuit, like a mechanic sort of overall jumpsuit. Underneath, he's wearing some kind of, it looks like what we'd recognise as a band T-shirt, but he's not really sure where he got it or what it is or who these people are that are on the T-shirt.
What does it say on the T-shirt, Josh?
I refuse. You'll have to undress me to find out. He has it done up at the moment. But he's wearing like work boots, leather gloves, and he essentially looks like a mechanic from the modern day. And he's got those sort of classic steampunk goggles that everyone loves, but with an actual purpose. Like they have
Like welder's goggles.
Yeah. They're essentially like they have like flip up lenses, but they're essentially for welding and stuff.
Cool. Any visible weapons or a pack on your person?
He's carrying like a almost like a rucksacky sort of deal.
Sure.
Kind of
Rock on.
With the Nike written across the back of it.
neither confirm nor deny this.
Cool. Roughly what age would a bystander estimate for both Alithia and Maximus?
Alicia looks about 16. She looks rather young, but she's actually early 20s.
Okay. And Maximus?
Maximus is mid-30s. Quite a head, like leathery sort of face, like quite a time-worn kind of guy. But
Makes
he's
sense.
got a
Get
friendly
it?
smile.
Time one.
Very
I
cool.
get it.
Now, what else we got here? So one or two more questions. I like to get a sense of characters' backgrounds and stuff like that to be able to riff off of. Like one or two more kind of cutting questions, and you wouldn't necessarily know these things about each other, but I guess just sort of ignore or don't listen to what the others say. And I asked a couple of these to the two fellows yesterday. So first off, Alithia, why is it that your character would be choosing to sort of take up a nomadic, adventuring, mercenary lifestyle? Why are you sort of going about taking random jobs here and there?
Because bearing a halo of fire, people don't generally want her around for too long.
She had a hard life.
No, she's
Wow.
quite naive. She's been burned in the past and stuff, and
Was she in a tavern?
She's been burned in the past?
yeah, she got
Ayo.
burned in the past. These puns tonight is brilliant. But yeah, so she's not really got many friends, but she doesn't really care. She's a bit of a loner. And when she does end up trusting people, she ends up getting it in the teeth. It backfires constantly, and she just decides not to.
Okay.
Staying on the road kind of just makes sense socially. You don't have to worry about investments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you're constantly traveling all the time, you don't have to make friends.
Cool. Same answer for Maximus, or same question for Maximus. Why the adventuring life rather than a static profession?
Maximus is a man who likes to travel for the sake of traveling. He's never really had a place to. He's never really had like a place that he's stayed around for too long. Mainly just because there's a whole world out there to explore, and he finds it fascinating. But he also likes to see if he can help around wherever. He's as he's an honourable sort of bloke. He goes from town to town, sort of fixing things if he can. He sort of trades his way through life.
Fair enough.
Traitor. How dare he?
And my dad's bullying me already. It's brilliant.
Okay. Now, Ilithia, being sort of a bit of a social outcast, or not that invested
Here's
in
an interesting bit of trivia about.
investing in relationships long term, that kind of thing. How does your character feel about mutants? So in the world of Numenera, given that it's so far in the future, the sort of common civilization of humanity is what we understand as humans, sort of bipedal, roughly flesh-toned skin, etc., just like you'd expect from a physiological standpoint. But there are also all these other like branches of Homo sapiens sapien that evolved differently. And for the most part, they're seen as social outcasts. Sometimes they're outright hunted and killed. So there's all these various types of mutant that weren't mutated by any kind of abrupt or dramatic, nuclear spill or anything, but just sort of more from an evolutionary perspective. They evolved differently. So how do you feel about mutants, given that they're generally looked at with derision and scorn as being outsiders?
She just kind of sees them as people, I suppose. She doesn't really have any feelings towards them either way. They're just normal people. Like, yeah, she doesn't really care. She's just like, people are different. Like, what's the point in actually differentiating between them? They just look different. Leave them alone.
Fair enough. No worries.
They can have
And now
many
Maximus.
limbs they want, unless they
Or
have
as many-
8 limbs. So in which case,
Leave my fear of spiders alone, you mean
Tentacles and whatnot.
Tentacles are fine. This whole 16 knees.
There's rules to play mutants, and I was sad no one wanted to play a mutant. You have to roll on mutation tables to see there's like cosmetic mutations, positive mutations, negative mutations. It's pretty hilarious. So Maximus, as a nano, you sort of practice what is commonly sort of seen as magic, right? You've got the capacity to cast certain spells. For the sake of the lore in the world of Numenera, this is what I was telling you before, I'll elucidate for chat. Nanos or spellcasters in this world, what they're actually doing is they're tapping into a sort of global atmospheric network of nanobites or nanobots that one of the previous 8 civilizations installed or set up. But not all nanos understand that what they're doing is actually on a much more technical or sort of machine level. Some of them do think that what they're doing is magic. It's a very sort of sensory experience. So as Maximus is casting, does he understand it as magic, or does he have something of an understanding that it's more technological in nature?
he has a basic understanding. He's not the sort of he's not superstitious or anything like that. He very much looks for the logical explanation. So he's sort of figured out. He understands it as a theory, but he's never seen any actual proof. It's just what he believes explains everything that he's studied. But I mean, how do you actually sort of examine something that finite and small and global? So he's that's something that he's also traveling to sort of learn more about.
Okay. Alrighty. Now, since you two have been sort of traveling together, at least for a short time, as you head to the Amber Monolith to try and potentially find work as sort of hired-on security or hired-on escorts to one of these groups of pilgrims that would be heading up into the Crystal Fields, you would have developed a bit of a connection to one another. You would have realized a couple things, that it's not just chance that brought you two together on the road on your way to the Amber Monolith. Beth, you guys can come up with like the stories behind this, or like the reasons why. I'll let you get your headphones back in. So you guys can come up with sort of what event might have happened, or like how you would have realized this. But Beth, at some point while you've been traveling with Maximus, you realize that for whatever reason, he's unharmed by your flames. Your flames just don't affect him in any way. They don't burn him. He's just as immune to them as you are. And you're not too sure why. He's not too sure why. But that's something that you guys can come up with a story on how that came to be, how you realized that. Now, Josh, your connection to Beth is a little bit more complicated. So I need you to roll me a d4.
I feel like that's asking for a lot. Right. Well, 1d for you.
1d4.
4.
4. Okay. So at one point, since you and Beth have been on the road together, you had to step forward in time to save her from certain death, but she doesn't know it because you pulled just in time. It's your choice whether or not you're planning to tell her, whether you have told her, whether you're holding that information to yourself. But something happened where she was about to die, and you had to cause one of these temporal hiccups to save her, and she was, had no idea one way or another.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
You can come up with the story as to what happened, what you saved her from, how, and whether or not you're going to tell her or not.
Cool. I stepped forward in time.
Yeah.
Forward, yeah, it says forward, but I think, it's the idea that you sort of saw, you maybe through your anticipation ability,
Saw her die.
something was going to happen.
Sorry.
That's sick.
I was like, yeah!
Actually, no, I should
In
probably.
the future, we can see this happen.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like
That's
the
awesome.
idea. Like, I stepped forward in time and was like, yes! And then the GM was like, no, she's a player character. We have to introduce her. I'm like, fuck's sake. I go back and save her, and I'm like, just the resentment. Yeah, cool. I'll figure something cool out for that.
Cool, no worries. The other thing we want to do for Josh's character is to roll out his oddities and ciphers. So those in chat who tuned in last week, or anyone who tuned in to Mythematics and my origin story during the 24-hour stream during the graveyard shift, from like 1 to 4 EST. Ciphers are a cool component to the Numenera system in that they are one-time use magic items. They are these very powerful trinkets or objects, devices from past eons of advanced technology, and they give your character this. The idea is that at all times you have a very strange assortment of options in terms of abilities and things you want to do to deal with obstacles or the things in front of you. And they're always rolled at random because that's way more fun, and there are a lot of them. So we are going to roll out Josh's oddities and ciphers here in stream so you guys can see not only what he's going to end up having, but also his reaction to them. As a character who travels through time, Josh gets 3 oddities. Most characters start with 1 oddity. He's going to get 3. So we will do your oddities first. So let me just get out my enormous list of oddities.
If I do say so myself.
17 inches.
17 inches of oddities.
Wow.
Nice.
So Josh, I need you to roll me D100.
Oddity. The herb pleasure. D100. 78.
Your first oddity. Of course, it starts with a measurement. 8 inches.
There it is, 17.
Your first oddity is 8 inches of synthetic cord that is invisible.
Oh, thank you.
So it's invisible cord, 8 inches long, and I'll say that it's sort of roughly the diameter of like twine, but it's entirely invisible.
Okay.
And roll a D100 again, and I'll give you your second oddity.
Invisible cord. I like the idea
Invisible
that I
Mythmatic.
just have a small invisible Mythmatic in my face.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Nothing about me is small, first of all.
Don't want to know, Cord. Really don't want to know.
I kind of want to know.
Well, now you know.
47.
It's up here.
My favorite number.
47. Okay, your second oddity is a rubber ball that, when thrown against a hard surface, creates a second rubber ball that will disappear after a couple minutes. So this thing, like when you hit it against a hard surface, it sort of splits into two, but the second one is an illusion that goes away after a couple minutes.
Okay.
Nice.
Wait, hold on,
That is-
hold on. Does that? Please tell me that means like if I throw it at a hard surface and then like every time it hits, it creates another. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say like they all like the everything except the original one only lasts for a minute. So you'd have like
Yeah.
a limited window of like wax to like populate these balls. But yeah, sure, that's fine.
That's amazing. I love the idea that I can just throw one bouncy ball and then just thousands like a gumball machine explode and just roll everywhere and just all bouncing around. Are they solid?
There's nothing to indicate to the contrary. So yeah, I'll say they're solid.
Duplicate.
But it takes one individual whack to produce each replica, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And then a third D100.
Cool. So random. 59.
Okay.
I love stuff like this.
Okay. It is a wire sculpture of a flower that, when you blow on it, releases its petals, and somehow the petals always grow back, even though it's made of like wire and metal. Yeah.
Wildflower that. Do they instantly grow back, or just?
I'll say it takes a day. Like they're just gradually sort of resprout.
Cool.
Okay, now for your ciphers. Again, these are one-time use items. Generally, they have much more powerful effects than the oddities. The oddities can be used, get a lot of mileage if you're creative in how you want to use them in terms of narrative stuff. But the ciphers pack a punch. So roll 1d20 and a d100 for each of your ciphers. And you get 3 ciphers as a nano.
Oh, 12, 16.
Okay, so we'll do that one first. List C. Okay, this makes sense with Beth's character. You have a small bottle of eye drops. These eye drops allow the user to see an infrared light for up to 1 hour. Warm creatures and objects register as bright reds, oranges, yellow, and the cools appear as blue, purple, black, just like normal infrared. It allows you to see through total darkness with rough detail rather than fine detail. Hot sources of light appear just as white and often obscure your vision. But yeah, eye drops that give you thermal vision.
Cool.
And then another D20, D100 combo.
Yeah. 744.
44. Oh, that sounds dangerous.
Good. Give it to me. Now, don't give me the instructions, just give me the thing.
Erosion Ray. It is a handheld device, so you can imagine that looks however you like. Handheld device emits a beam at an object within short range. The beam weakens an amount of material that can fit inside a 10-foot cube. The target does not appear to change, but then assumes the hardness of thin paper. So it basically like
To have changed, but then
renders up to like 10 feet thick of material, yeah, as thin as paper.
eat.
So basically, you can walk through a wall.
That's insane.
It says it can weaken structures such as bridges, walls, anything at the GM's discretion. So yeah, it just makes whatever you shoot paper thin.
Cool. Things are one-time only.
Yeah.
Things, so yeah.
One time use, yeah.
Save it.
Does it work on organic things?
Doesn't say to the contrary, so I'll allow it. That's fine.
Oh, that'd be amazing, like final boss fight. You tap him. He's paper.
And we're now playing Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, ciphers are things that populate the world in abundance. So you'll often find more of them than you can carry because you're restricted in how many you can carry at a time. If you find another one that you like better, you'll sort of drop one of the ones that you don't like as much. Yeah. But the idea is you guys keep using them regularly. I think Will and Cord, did you guys use almost all of your 4 combined in that one session last week?
I used 2 of mine,
I think I used one of mine.
Yeah. So that was.
but I also gained one. So
Yeah, that's true.
I've got 8 and 90.
8 and 90. Okay. Man, these are all weird.
Good. That's what I like.
Okay, this is a pair of anklets that are gravity dampeners.
sick.
This device automatically activates when the user falls 10 feet or more. After 10 feet, these anklets activate and the user floats down until they land safely, taking no damage.
Anti-fall anklets. That's amazing.
Cool.
So basically, I can be like, "What's that? We're on a bridge, really high in the air. I erode the floor, and then I gently glide to the floor."
Yeah, what's cool about those anklets is that they don't take activation. Like you can just have them on as like a precautionary measure, and
I'm having it on.
if you need them, they work. I'll say they're like really emasculating though.
In my head, they look like sort of
Little silver chains with like butterflies on.
they've got like little wings on the back. They are
Charm bracelets.
They're Crocs. They are Crocs.
Loom
Yeah, basically.
Loom band bracelet.
They're Crocs made entirely of loom band. It's beautiful.
Alrighty, so now that you're all set, is there any other questions you had, Josh or Beth? I know it's the first time you've played, so no worries. We can go through the growing pains that we afforded to Will and Cord last week.
I need to quickly pick some weapons and stuff. That's why I didn't say.
Sure, no worries.
I just want to let everybody know that we actually have to start stream with something special.
Who's
Oh,
A
that?
viewer vote.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yep,
we 700.
we do. So I don't know if you want to do it now or if we can do the whole thing right when we start, or we can start it now and then we can work it in after we learn the rules a little bit.
I mean, we can do it now while I'm sort of walking Josh through the
We have a
weapon
viewer
stuff. And
vote about when we want the viewer vote. I mean,
No.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's too much democracy.
Yeah, so we can start this drop poll now. That's cool.
Okay.
All right,
So
guys.
what
People
are
in...
some suggestions from
Yeah.
chat? Viewer decision. You guys can have anything happen that you want. You literally get to inject into the story something, and then I, as the GM, have to frantically try and make sense of it, and the players have to frantically try and deal with it and survive. Survive it being a key word there. So throw out some suggestions in chat, things you'd like to see. If you're not familiar with the Numenera world, don't worry at all. You can say things like, you want a red dragon, like they can come from other types of games. That's cool too. And once we get some suggestions, we'll make a straw poll and we can all vote.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, Numenera is set in there was 8 prior civilizations, rise and falls of these 8 civilizations before us. We're in the 9th world. So last episode we found like an old post-apocalyptic kind of it was a malfunctioning ticket robot for a theme park. The theme park wasn't around, so if you wanted to do a red dragons would fit because maybe it's just an ancient beast that was dwelling in the area.
Ooh,
or something
gelatinous
like that.
cube. I like gelatinous
Yeah.
cube.
Okay, gelatinous cube is always awesome. Gelatinous cube. I have to figure out how to spell that.
Mergos is a dragon.
Dragon, okay. Like a Numenera dragon. Last episode, I actually fought some giant centipede that was ripped out of this temporal rift, which was crazy.
Irving Wolfen says a web full of spider dogs.
Web of
No.
spogs.
Spogs, yeah.
Spogs.
Graham says with Spanish Inquisition.
Spiders, please.
Because nobody expects that.
Swarm of flesh-eating insects is good. Swarm of flesh-eating
Insects don't go either. Nope.
Flesh-eating insects.
A maniacal raccoon is more powerful than a red dragon becomes Alicia's pet. That's very specific. gene-modded fire-breathing winged lizard. Flint is a flying crystal with a gang of goblins riding it as a vehicle.
Flying crystal? With a gang of goblins
Yeah,
riding it?
flying crystal, yeah. Zolans is a flying ship. Spider
yes,
bugs.
It does something.
I like that, a flying ship that does something.
Yeah.
Probably maybe flyers. I feel like that might be a
I have
thing.
flying crystal goblins. Gelatinous cube dragon, web of spogs, spider dogs, flesh-eating
I-
insects, flying crystal goblins.
A mechanical raccoon that's more powerful than a red dragon becomes Alicia's pet. I like that.
Manacle.
Okay, there's one
Is,
person
is, there,
for it.
is there like an acronym we could make for that? Because that's just long-winded.
The no,
Say all
there's
those letters in a row.
Yeah.
Dragon raccoon Alicia's
No.
pet.
Dracoon. Dracoon? Dracoon?
Actually, due to the
Raccoon, I
GM, I need to change my vote to the Canadian Inquisition. They use thumb screws, but apologise each time they twist.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
All right, shall we go with that one then?
So, gelatinous cube, dragon, web of spiders, web of spider dogs, flesh-eating insects, flying crystal goblins, dracoon? Question mark? Mechanical dracoon?
Yep.
Oh, I can't go back and edit. Yes, I can.
That sounds like plenty.
Yeah.
Because they got to vote as well. So
Sweet. And just let everybody know, before you submit your vote, you can submit for a couple different ones. Don't submit for all of them because that would void your entire vote. We've had people who did that in the past with Beth. All right, so
I didn't know what to choose. I felt like I had
it
to
shows
vote.
everything. All right, so here is the link. I'm going to post it in chat. I'm going to spam it in chat.
Go vote.
somebody delete that, man. Somebody's spamming in chat. Get rid of that
what is
shit.
that? Yeah, get rid of that mod.
Asshole.
Modmatic.
Cool. While you guys are ticket into the straw poll, Josh, weapons in this game are sweet, and I think you're gonna like how it works. They come in 3 categories: light, medium, and heavy, and that's all that matters. So like you can make up any type of weapon with any form of like damage / description you can think of. It's either a light, medium, or heavy. Light weapons deal 2 damage, medium weapons deal 4, heavy weapons deal 6. So you don't have to worry about like it's a D8 if it's a broadsword or a D6 if it's a short or whatever. It's just light, medium, heavy as a category, but descriptively or its shape and form can be whatever you would like.
Fantastic. How many weapons? Let me check how many weapons.
One.
I get 1 weapon.
How many weapons do I
I'm going
get?
to have
Yes,
a-
flying crystal goblins.
I won't vote. I won't vote as the GM is going to have to deal with this shit. I'm not going to.
Well, what's the easiest thing to deal with? You could probably click that one.
Well, I
Flying
get 2
crystal
weapons.
goblins and mechanical dracoon are up there.
They're both tied.
They're bow tied. Are they
That's
cool?
right, they're bow tied. Everything's bow tied in my world.
So many puns tonight.
Yep, it is Dad Joke Central.
Uh-huh.
Vorpal spoon is indeed a heavy weapon, Graham.
Yep.
I remember the Vorpal spoon discussion we had the other night. That was good.
Morning.
Sleight of hand.
You
to
mean yesterday morning?
Spiders,
Slip the
Jack,
purple spoon.
stop being mean.
Holy crap, that was yesterday morning. That was
Damn
nuts.
it.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell me that.
Show me spiders.
Show me potato salad.
I was literally just thinking that.
Get back in the car.
Flying Crystal Goblin's got 7 votes.
Yes.
So we'll let that go whilst we'll let that continue whilst if you want to carry on with something else, Mitch.
Sure. So while Josh and Beth are sort of punching in their weapons and stuff, so they've been sort of traveling together as a pair. Like I said, there's those strange connections they have. Maximus is unharmed somehow by Beth's halo of flame, and similarly, Maximus had to intervene through time to save Beth's life, unbeknownst to her. So they've had their own little escapades on their way to the Amber Monolith, and they can, again, come up with what those stories were and tell us over the next few weeks as they come up with something cool. But otherwise, this session starts with the 4 of you all arriving at the Amber Monolith at roughly the same time. Now, that in no way means that you run into each other right away, because when you get to the Amber Monolith, you realize that it is a sprawling tent city, the better part of a couple square kilometers large. So it's this, again, like I said, this annual pilgrimage site, the sort of starting point for these pilgrimages, and it is just a sprawling network of sort of shanties and shacks and temporary structures that have been set up, and sort of part and parcel with all of these individuals who are residing here for a month or so, preparing for travel. You have vendors, merchants, general goods stores, people making food, people selling equipment, all that kind of stuff, trying to capitalize as best they can on all of these expeditions. So each of you,
Festival goes, and they're just like
yeah,
burger vans. It's just so
They're
many
all in
burger
wellies
vans.
and
Everyone's
shorts
in wellies.
and
yeah. So you guys are going to spend a couple days sort of looking around in your respective pairs before ever interacting with one another. You're going to spend a couple days sort of getting a sense of what some of the job prospects are, what some of the options are, some of the caravans that are heading out to the Sky Crystal Fields. And there's also a chance that you may pick up random information, little bits of hearsay over drinks or food from the other potential mercenaries or pilgrims. So everybody can roll me a D100 to see what rumors you pick up about this camp or from this camp over the first couple days that you spend there looking for work. Yeah, everybody can roll me a D100.
All right. I'll do 100. 56. Oh, wow, Myth. Myth with the 1.
That's the best one I've ever seen.
I rolled a 10 and Josh rolled a 22.
Okay.
I did the best.
So, interestingly, and we'll maybe
I'm number one.
role play this one out. Beth and Josh, you both hear the same rumor that Jeckley hears, that Cord hears. And I'll say you hear the same rumor because you hear it at the same time. So we'll let you guys role play this out. The first interaction you have with one another. You're standing, we'll say, at a burger van or an equivalent. There's sort of a carriage, and they're selling like ground sort of patties on a bun.
So a burger van.
A burger van without the engine is really the only caveat.
It's a caravan, but with the burgers.
The burger caravan, yeah. Burger van.
I like the idea that it's genuinely like a horse-drawn burger van.
Yeah.
It's happening now. Like,
A
Okay,
Volkswagen
so,
bus with horses
so we'll say-
drawing it.
And Beth and Josh, you two were sort of stopping at this burger caravan to get a bite to eat, and Cord was sort of already in line, we'll say, and you guys are all standing in line, and you hear someone sort of between you. So we'll say, Cord, you're ahead of the line, closer to the front. Beth and Josh, you're towards the back, and someone between the two of you is having a sort of discussion / argument about whether or not the water obelisk, which is another large tower similar to the Amber Monolith, a number of kilometers the other way, whether or not that they've been blinking at night. The one guy says, he's going on about how, well, the Amber Monolith, it blinked 2 weeks ago. It sort of shone brightly at night, and then it stopped, and it hasn't done it since. And the other guy says, oh, the water obelisk did the same thing. And his friend there doesn't necessarily believe him. So that argument is sort of happening as you guys are standing in line for the burger van. I'll just make a note of that here, 1 sec.
That's blinking.
Yeah, it's been blinking at night. This large,
Amber Monolith.
again, strange, mysterious tower that draws folks of all sorts, but no one really knows what it does. Whereas, Will, you hear a very different rumor about this blinking of tower. You hear a rumor one night when you're, possibly getting something to drink or, just sort of doing the rounds, checking out the tent city in the evening. You hear a rumor that the Amber Pope, so the head of what is called the Order of Truth, and I'll give this to chat. There are sort of three different sort of religious orders. There's the Order of Truth, which is generally seen as like the good guys. There's the Aeon Priests, which are seen as sort of the neutral guys. And then there's the Convergence, which is not necessarily seen as evil, but they're definitely like self-interested, and they have no interest in promoting the good of others. All three of these organizations, the reason they're seen as sort of quasi-religious is because they spend all of their time and resources investigating the Numenera, the devices, the artifacts, the strange histories, the phenomena, the events, all of this sort of past that populates the present. They study those. The Order of Truth studies it for the benefit of others. They're trying to, produce policy and technology that can help. The Convergence wants to just become more powerful, and the Aeon Priest is kind of the neutral academic order that's just interested in learning more. So, Will, you hear a rumor one night that the Amber Pope, who's the head of the Order of Truth, somehow learned how to activate the Amber Monolith, and all that's being circulated right now is that he ascended. No one's really able to be more specific as to what that means. He's gone. He's mysteriously sort of disappeared, and just people are talking about his ascension up the Amber Monolith.
Okay. By the way, should we quickly remind ourselves and everyone in chat who me and Myth are
Yes.
playing and what we look like?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
And
Yeah.
remind them that there's a giveaway.
Oh yeah, we'll do that first. Hey, do you guys play D&D? No? You want to? Maybe you do. There's a player's handbook here, which is for you. So go to ! giveaway, and you can win it. There we go.
That was terrible.
That was amazing.
Well, I'd like to see you do better, Beth. I am playing Seto Yashuan, and he is basically a samurai kind of looking guy. He wears bamboo armor all over him. It's light armor, but it has
Bamboozled.
it's got some. It's pretty bamboozling actually, and he has a very ornate-looking sword, samurai sword on one hip. He has a moustache going from here down, and he looks pretty intense. He doesn't really smile too much, and he's standing very upright, and he walks quite gracefully, whilst he has Jet Li at his side, probably just looking around, making sure that there's no one about to kill him.
I
Or his
watched Kill
friend.
Bill. I watched Kill Bill yesterday, mate, and I'm so hyped for your character right now. It's unreal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's a tree samurai, Murgle. Yep.
yeah, pretty much.
I was saying space samurai, but I was wrong.
Every-
So-
Yeah, I like every time like you attack someone, it's just like you've been bamboozled.
Bamboozled.
Oh.
Bamboozled.
A shameful display.
Very simple.
Very simple. I am playing Jack Lee Dolman. He is a clever Jack who speaks with machines. He wields a bow. He also has a contraption tied to the back of his wrist, or the back of his or the top of his forearm here. He wields a bow. He's got furs, and then underneath the furs is a hoodie that he usually keeps unzipped, and the hood up over his face. And he's got like a bottom. He's got goggles and a gas mask that he usually keeps around his neck, but when he travels and stuff, he flips it up, kind of like Star-Lord. You know how he's got that badass mask for no reason. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what he has. It's this gas mask, a pair of welding goggles, and this hoodie that he keeps open under his furs, and a bow on his back.
Will return from chaise. Now understands your life choices.
Okay.
It's all becoming clear to
Glad
chat why you are the way you are.
Yeah, gotta become a telemarketer. Any day now.
Yeah, actually, so what we'll do is instead of you guys sort of bickering back and forth across a number of people in line, what we'll say is we'll sort of skip ahead a day. But Beth and Josh, you'll recognize Cord from having been in that same burger line for the horse-drawn burger man. You'll recognize one another. Cord, Jack Lee will recognize both Alithia and Maximus, because all four of you are having taken on a contract or taken on work with the same man. Now you did so at separate times, so we'll say that Will and Cord sort of agreed to be escorts for this gentleman who I'll describe in a minute. There was no one else there at the time. You didn't know that he was going to be hiring anyone else, and so when you arrive at the arranged day for him to leave, you see Maximus and Alithia standing there as well. So this man's hired sort of two separate pairs of escorts or guards. The man who's hired all four of you is named Lyric, and he is indeed an Aeon priest. It's apparent that he is so given the yellow robes that he wears, but also his sort of customarily shaved head and shaved eyebrows, sort of no body hair to speak of. And he's hired the four of you. All you know is that he's heading to the Invisible Lake with a larger group of caravans. He's one of many. Heading to the Invisible Lake, he hasn't said anything as to why. Today is the day that you're supposed to meet him and discuss the terms that you're entering into. But the first thing you all notice is that there are two other strangers who've also been hired by Mr. Lyric. So the four of you sort of walk into what's just sort of like a loose covering. It's a large sort of tarp on spikes and sort of sticks. And he's got his cart underneath, and he's slowly loading it and getting ready when the four of you walk in together. So the four of you sort of walk in and do the awkward you're four of you are trying to get in the same door, and well, no, I'm
All at
this
once.
close.
That moment when four
Should we
candidates
sprint to the doorway without thinking or looking to our peripherals? Just
I stop and let them enter first, bowing politely.
Alicia kind of
thank you,
turns around,
and then I go first.
looks at you and says thank you, and kind of steps in.
Maximus actually just stands before you and looks at you, absolutely fascinated. And see, he's got like this gauntlet on his left hand, and he's sort of like, it looks like he's stroking the air directly in front of you, and he's just going, interesting. Sorry.
He's just like staring at you emotionlessly. Just
Yeah, I know, and I'm just like,
Right.
this guy clearly doesn't mind, so I'm just like,
yeah.
yeah, and then I just go, oh, yes, thank you.
He
I
must have-
just enter with no explanation.
You must have sensed your willies.
Yes, the willies.
The
He's
willies.
giving me the willies. I bow and I nod and then like turn on point as we both enter.
Yeah, so the four of you enter, and Lyric is immediately sort of puts down the crate that he was loading. He's loading a number of identical crates, just sort of wooden crates, and they all seem to just have empty mason jars in them. He sort of puts down the one that he was loading and says, "Good, you're here now. I'm not gonna bother myself with this work. This is what I'm paying you for. If you could, the four of you, please finish with loading up. Introduce yourselves as you go, and then once this cart is loaded, then come and get me. I'll just be sort of next door." He gestures to his left, and it's just a sort of curtain flap rather than a door. So he sort of dismissively tells you to finish loading the cart and to introduce yourselves.
You want us to put the jars on the cart?
Yeah, so he's got probably 3 or 4 dozen large sort of crates filled with mason jars. Like there's going to be hundreds of empty mason jars here that he's loading into the cart. There's already on his cart, there's already one chest that's very different from all these crates. What does this chest look like? It's about the size of an office desk, so it's large.
So it
and
does 4 damage.
It's made of sort of dense iron wood, and it's got steel framing all around it. So it's this very ornate and important chest that's sort of loaded to the back of the cart if you're sort of standing at the back loading it, but it would be the chest is closer to where he's going to be sitting, riding this thing.
Awesome.
But yeah, so he sort of gestures, finish loading these and then come find me, and he goes through the little flap.
I kind of just look awkwardly at the 2 new people. Well, not awkwardly, just kind of standoffishly, I guess.
Yeah. Jackley's probably gonna. He goes to step and then he looks and sees that Seto isn't doing anything, and then he kind of steps back, like a half step back, and waits for them to go, and then he goes, "Right, you heard him," and he kind of like shoos the 2 newcomers to do the work.
Maximus is busy. He's essentially seems to be sort of waving at stuff. Like he's just sort of waving his hand, but he seems to like it seems to be provoking some sort of response. He's just sort of like, oh yeah, no, it's got some really he's essentially scanning, which is one of my abilities to see what's in this stuff.
Do you have the ability pulled up? If not, I can grab it here. We'll read out the ability description to chat.
Oh god, can you?
You haven't got it. Then.
Seto turns to.
Are you
Jack
scanning
Linney.
Seto?
I was scanning Seto earlier, actually.
Seto turns to Jekli and says, "Warriors do not do work like this."
Yeah, warriors fight. That's what we are, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, give it.
He turns back to look at these 2.
I love you two are just like so insecure. You're just like, man, I don't do this thing. No, we're man. Yeah.
Okay, so the scanning ability costs 2 intellect points, but if you've got an edge in your int, it'll only cost 1 point out of your pool. You scan an area equal to up to 10 feet, a 10-foot cube, including all of the objects and or creatures in that area. Scanning the creature reveals its level, how powerful it is. You can also learn whatever facts the GM feels are pertinent about the matter and energy in that area, etc. So you scanned Seto outside. But what I could say, just because it's a 10-foot area, and that's roughly all you're working with inside this sort of shanty, this lean-to. Don't worry about using the scan ability twice. Just activate it once, and I can give you the lay of the room here. So you get a sense from Seto and from Jekli that they are roughly similar sort of power to you. You get quite an aura coming off of Seto's weapon. It's definitely not your everyday standard sort of blacksmith's mass-produced kind of longsword or samurai sword. There's a little bit more to it than that. You know that Jekli, what were the 2 ciphers that you had at the end of last session again?
I had one that I had to get rid of, so that's not around. That is no longer with us. But the
you used the concussive thing, or the
yep, I used that thing that was a thing. Yep, and then the now I have a heat node, which I still haven't used, and then I've got the Chinese finger trap of telepathic bonding.
Okay, so I'll say that. So Josh, you definitely pick up that, like you get a sense of what looks to you like a small little tube. I mean, that sort of maybe looks like a bunch of rolled quarters or something like that, like rolled coins, somewhere in Jekli's pack on his person. That's given off a pretty serious psionic power there, psionic vibes. And the big bad chest right in the center of it, so very very small inside the chest. So definitely not filling the whole chest itself. Right towards the center, you're getting a sense of sort of very, very potent chemicals.
Cool.
Although you have no idea what they are.
As I like stroke my hand over it, like I just look at everyone else and I just sort of mutter like, yeah, could be, yeah. Pandora, anyone? Yeah. And then he just sort of goes off.
Spotify.
Okay. Yeah. And
yeah, Josh, you should totally like litter and pepper all of your like references to like antiquated like weird prehistory.
yeah, shit.
You'll be like the genie like referencing like Mick Jagger and stuff. Yeah.
Let me ask Jeeves on this one.
Yeah. And I'm also like flicking through different lenses on my goggles, and like I'm just essentially like paying no attention to anyone. I'm very much interested in what we're shifting. What's in all these masonry jars?
They're empty.
They're empty.
Okay, so they are out. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, if you were to open one and actually check, sort of sniff, lick, poke, they're definitely empty.
I open it. It seems empty. I'll lick the inside to make sure.
Seto steps forward and bows before the 2 of you and says, "My name is Seto Yashwan."
Alicia kind of looks at you and she smiles, and she's like, "My name's Alicia."
I point and say, "This is Elle, or Ellie, or yeah."
She rolls her eyes.
Interesting, and I like go to reach for your sword and then realize that's probably a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah,
but
he like tenses.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, sorry, no, it's just it's an interesting sword. It's it's got some.
Yes. Who are you?
Oh, sorry, where are my manners? I was, or I am, or I will be, Maximus, but I have been someone else, but I wasn't yet. I give you a short bow.
That's
I see.
He's constantly confused at what his timeline is.
Yeah, has it happened yet? No, it hasn't. Okay.
I see. Greetings. And then I step backwards.
I'm Jekli Doman. Hi.
Hi.
What I can say is Josh and Beth, you can both make an intellect task. And the base difficulty on this task is a 3. So again, it's about knowing local knowledge or sort of local history. So if you have any training in history, local knowledge, that would reduce the difficulty from 3. Or if you want to spend 3 intellect points, you could reduce the difficulty down to 2. Otherwise, you can both just hit that difficulty 3 button and see what happens. So this is to recall something or anything. See if you've heard of these two before.
Cool.
Heard of a guy called Finn.
I got a 19.
Right up.
Cool. And let me just check. Mine.
You may have heard of a guy called Finbar. is that what you
Edge.
said?
Yeah.
You may have heard of it.
Is intellect. I've got an edge in intellect.
Yeah, so whenever you would spend intellect points, it costs 1 less. So
Cool.
to spend a level of effort costs 3 points normally, but it would only cost 2 if you got an edge of 1.
Cool. So does that mean?
You drop it down to a 2.
Yeah, I roll on 2. Yeah.
That's it. That's if you want to spend points to reduce the DC of this. You don't have to. You can always choose whether or not you want to spend
Okay.
effort to make it easier.
Okay. In which
can
case,
just-
I'll just straight up roll.
Cool.
No success.
Cool. So Beth Alithia not only sort of was suspicious initially when she first saw Jeckley, because Jeckley sort of fit a description that she had heard from a couple of Navarrene soldiers that were sort of drinking in a tavern en route to the Amber Monolith. But then once he said his name, it sort of became crystal clear that this was in fact the guy that they were talking about. You know that Jeckley has a reputation fairly recently. He was involved somehow, although these soldiers weren't too sure how he was involved or what capacity, what his motives were, what he was trying to do. There was a recent catastrophe in the capital city of Charmonde where there were a number of injured soldiers, and then somehow one of the requisition stores buildings where they keep all their equipment sort of erupted and exploded with a 400, 500-foot centipede-like creature that could fly and then just started like devastating the city. And they had to activate their city defenses, which they haven't done in living memory for anybody except maybe, of course, Maximus, whose living memory is flexible. They activated these sort of energy force fields. A number of civilians were killed and injured in the activation of these to sort of lock this centipede in. And Jeckley spent most of that evening, or most of the time during that catastrophe, flying around on some kind of glider, helping all of the sort of civilians. So a 19 is not only a success, but on 19s or 20s, I give you like additional information or like a little bonus. So you know that he has a negative reputation with the Imperials of Navarrene, but that he has a very positive sort of folk hero-esque reputation with the people in the city of Charmonde.
When she hears the name, she just kind of steps back a bit, hides behind Maximus. She's just like, she just kind of doesn't say anything and kind of puts her head down. She puts her hood up and she kind of shuffles behind Maximus a bit.
I look over at this guy and I'm just like, is it something you said or you haven't said it yet? Were you going to say something?
Me?
I look at Ellie and I'm like, did he say something that he meant to say but he didn't? But no.
She
okay.
just looks at you really confused and she's just like, later. I'll tell you later.
Yo, Josh, I have to commend how awesome this is as a character choice, because no one... I'm sorry, I've got some subway rumblings, but I mean, as someone who travels through time, you do need like a great mental capacity to kind of piece together what has happened.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that he's almost maybe probably going insane or convincing himself that he's going insane. So it's really cool.
Hasn't
I'm
gone insane
really
yet.
enjoying that.
It's going insane, but he hasn't gone insane yet.
Yeah. He's on his way, but he's like, yeah, it's really cool.
I'm pretty sure. I know where I am.
Well, and especially at this power level too, so he has very little control over his actual stepping, and I'll sort of allow and afford that you've had a couple instances in your life where you have skipped back and forth, forward or backwards in time, but it wasn't your conscientious sort of doing. Whereas later on, like if we make it to tier 6, you'll be able to sort of deliberately go back in time and control it. So at this point, you're just kind of on the tide, man, and doing the best you can.
Living in the present.
Len.
Or the future, or the past, or whatever time it is at the moment.
Living in the now, whatever
Live
that
in a
means.
vida loca, that's all you need to know.
And that's it. That's exactly it. He's living in the now, but he's not quite sure if this is his now.
Yeah.
Living
Someone
in
else
someone's
is now.
Cool.
Yeah. Before we move on, can I just see the results of the straw poll? Just so that I
I
know.
believe it
so I
is
can track
goblins.
it.
Goblins
Yeah,
of
Crystal
course.
Goblin.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so
Crystal.
I can vote again. Did I vote yet? I don't think I voted.
Dracoon should have won. I mean, that's brilliant.
You're right.
That's
should have
democracy.
voted.
That's democracy for you.
Okay, goblins riding crystals. I mean, that's actually probably the best and easiest thing that could have happened because you are entering into an area where there are floating crystals. So I mean, it could have been a lot harder to integrate. So this is good, but I'll make it as spicy as I can.
Thank you. I love spice.
Flavor's sake. Cool. So after all this interaction and discussion and introductory chatter, Lyric is going to step back out and just look down at all the crates, none of which has been moved, and say, well, did you not understand my instructions?
No, I did. We're fighters. They're the ones
We are
that
warriors.
you're talking about, right? You're talking about them. They're the ones who need to. They're your hired help, correct? We were hired to protect, but what about them, right? They're the ones.
You have served for this job. We are warriors.
He's going to say that both of these pairs, all four of you, are hired help. He makes a point of hiring more than one individual who has never met one another, sort of from different factions, as sort of an insurance policy of his, so that each party is always sort of tracking the other one in case anyone's planning on backstabbing him. They're always sort of competing with one another. So all four of you are hired help, and as hired help, he'll go on to say. If you'd like to be paid, you'll do what I ask, whether that involves fighting or not.
I do not want to be paid. I have no need for your money.
I'll take his money. All right, I'll do it.
I point at Seto and I'm like, that takes me forward. I mean back. And then he goes over and he starts like mucking in and helping, lifting all these jars up. So.
Alicia kind of turns off the very, very, very fine layer of flame she has on her skin. And
that would be helpful for everyone. You not being on fire.
She basically, it's almost like an aura.
This girl is on fire.
There it is.
Very pale kind of flames licking up her cloak and stuff, and she just kind of snaps her fingers and it turns off, and then she's just like, I probably should have done that earlier, and picks up a crate and puts it on the truck or on the wagon and kind of looks around nervously and picks up another one going, I really need to learn to turn that off in public. That would explain all the weird looks I was getting earlier.
Yeah, Jackley just, I guess, like, oafs over to the, just with his head down over to the barrels or the crates and starts to load them really slowly.
Yeah, Seto just stands there.
Seto just doesn't do anything. Checks his iPhone.
Yeah. He's probably giving this their boss kind of. He's been insulted. You're giving him a very stern look.
Yeah. So Lyric, fairly unemotive, is going to pull out what looks like some kind of flat piece of, very rigid piece of paper, but it seems to have an interactive display on it. It's paper thin, but holds its shape rigidly, and it's got sort of little buttons all over that seem to be projected in sort of a bluish green light. And he pulls out a little stick that he sort of flicks back and forth like this between his fingers, and he starts typing rapidly on this pad, sort of doing a number of activities at once to himself while explaining the parameters of the contract with you four. He says that you've sort of agreed that you will all be paid 25 shins before and 25 shins returning, presuming he returns back safely. Taking a trip to the Invisible Lake, where he needs to load up these mason jars with the sort of invisible water that is resting there. Obviously, the sort of risk that you're taking on heading into the sky crystal fields. There's everything from bandits to creatures to strange disturbances and the like. He obviously, nor his organization, the Aeon Priests, take on or hold any kind of liability in the event that you get injured, maimed, dismembered, or somehow otherwise altered. And he says, gesturing towards the desk-sized chest, that protecting this chest is of the utmost importance, and you are not to open it or look into it under any circumstances.
Right, look into it. Will do.
I'm just like, no, don't look in there. It's, I guess. Not that
don't look in there again before yet. You can all roll an intellect task difficulty of 3 as a base to see if you know anything about the Invisible Lake.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna pull up my.
Hello, Forever Play It. How you doing?
Hey, Josh.
Hey,
Oh,
Josh.
you got a success. Cleric says, always read the fine print on the contract.
Success. I got an 8.
I'm actually going to explain to chat how this works. All right, so what I did is
Yeah.
I pulled up my character sheet here.
Love
So everything in this game, I did a lot of explaining it on Monday or on during the 24-hour stream, but no one was in chat because it was a graveyard shift.
Hey, we had like a solid like 20 people.
That's true. That's true. We did. I'm sorry. I wasn't there. So the
guy. There was an Australian guy.
That's true. Yeah. So the everything here in the system, might, speed, and intellect is also your health. So like in Traveler, that system as well, your health, some of your attributes can contribute to your health. I have an edge in my intellect, so I could spend 3 points in any one of these to reduce that ability's skill down one tier. Down at the bottom of the sheet, there's tiers. He said it starts at 3. I'm going to spend, for the sake of just for this here, I'm going to spend 3 points. I have an edge, so I could actually spend 2 instead. So I'm going to reduce myself down to 11 out of my 13 and reduce it to a difficulty of 2. If I had any assets on my character, or if I wanted to somehow convince Delinear that it should be 1 more.
If any character has ever been to the Sky Crystal Fields, which you can choose to be the case or not, we'll just have to come up with a good story and tell it to me next week. If anyone's been in the Sky Crystal Fields, you can have an asset on whether or not you know anything about it.
So you can buy 1 tier lower with your health pool and your intellect or your ability pools, or which also acts as your health, which I forgot about last round. Or you can have an asset, and you can have an asset too. So if I had anything else, I could reduce it more. But I'm going to stick at 2 here, and hope I roll. Okay, cool. I rolled a 19.
Cool. And again, a 19 gives you an additional effect in addition to your success. But we'll start with Will, because you and Will both have a base success, whereas Maximus and Alithia don't recall anything. They've never heard of the Invisible Lake. I mean, intuitively, they get a sense of what it might be. But Will and it's
Wait,
less
hold on.
than
It's
visible.
water that's see-through. Dude,
Basically,
mind
yeah.
blown.
So Will and Cord, you both know that the Invisible Lake is, sort of what it sounds. The waters are rumored to have sort of healing powers, so it's seen as a very spiritual place in the Sky Crystal Fields. It's kind of an alarming experience to either swim or sail on the Invisible Lake because the water functions otherwise just as normal. So you can see all the way to the bottom, like literally completely unobstructed. You can see fish swimming. So it's this very surreal kind of vertigo experience to be out on like a canoe, for instance, on the Invisible Lake. You can drown in it just like you would in normal water. Cord, as your minor effect, you also know that there is a fairly sizable community of mutants that resides on the coasts. And mostly sort of fish. It's mostly sort of rural kind of community. These humans have sort of developed, or their part of their mutations were sort of like stork-like, sort of extended maws or jaws that have that kind of stork pouch for them to be able to sort of like fish with their heads. So they sort of put their hands behind their back and stand in the water, and they can actually pluck fish out of the water with their mouths. So you know that tribe or group of mutants is known to reside somewhere on or around that lake, and the lake provides the majority of their sustenance.
Awesome. Thank you, Higurakai, for the follow. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Welcome to the adventure, my friend.
I say, the Invisible Lake is a place of great sanctuary and peace and danger.
I also heard that they've got weird bird herring people. Have you seen? Do you guys know about that?
She's just like, hang on, peace and danger?
Yes. Correct.
So it's life.
She looks really confused. She's got this look on her face. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's simple, really. It's like Schrodinger's
cat, but it's a lake. It's wait. Never mind.
I think you're in the wrong time again, Maximus.
I've literally never mentioned time travel to you. I haven't mentioned it to anyone.
I will go there and meditate for a time.
I'm gonna go and talk to those weird
Okay.
stock people. That is fucked up.
That your face, man, your face. The whole head area is just wow.
Yeah.
Will they give you the willies?
No, not quite the wheelies. It's just they're freaky. They're freaky looking people. They got long necks and like weird bottom pointy chin that like store fish. Do you not? Anybody else know about this? This stock people? Anyone?
I
Yeah,
know
no,
not
I've
of
heard of
what you speak.
They're,
Oh well, you'll see.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's-
gross. It's gross as hell.
no, they're supposed to, because they've done that, and they fish. They fish like heron, or what's the other thing? Oh no, never mind. Yeah, no. So they fish with it. They're pretty harmless. They're at least I think they were.
Or they're going to be. They become harmless. I don't,
I'm trying. I'm trying to remember. Are they allies in the end? Can't remember. I pull out my
In the
book of
end.
Numenera and I open up the last page and sneak a view and I'm just like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Just close it. Put it. And I'm just like,
whose side were they on in the war? Yeah.
What war? No, what?
don't mention the war in front of Sato. God.
Cool.
That's where
So
we're traveling. We're traveling to this.
that is where you're heading to. You're heading to the Invisible Lake. Lyric doesn't give you any other information about it. He says you're leaving first thing in the morning. You're free to sort of sleep in the next room. He gestures to another curtain that can be pulled back. And there's a series of sort of military-style cots. They're just sort of frames with sort of canvas between them about 2 feet off the ground. Sort of gestures that you can sort of spend the night here. You won't have to bring any food or rations for the road. Those have all been purchased in advance by him. But they'll be leaving first thing in the morning with 4 or 5 other groups of caravans all heading to the Invisible Lake. So you'll be one among a sort of convoy. And then he passes over the 25 shins apiece as the advance payment, of course, with 25 more shins upon returning him safely.
Cool.
I take them and hand them to Jetly.
Thank you.
Go,
Pleasure doing business with you.
I go over to Jeckley and I just say,
5 each.
25 each.
Marvelous.
I walk over to Jeckley and I'm just like, there was something I meant to say to you. No, it's gone. And then I go to walk away and I stop and I'm like, oh, wait, that's it. Bet black, not red. I know it sounds, just trust me, always bet on black. And then I walk away.
Right.
Cool. So you guys have the evening. If there's anything you want to do sort of admin-wise, spend your shins. Otherwise, we can pick up first thing in the morning, heading for the first time across the River Tide into the Sky Crystal Fields. But you guys have your advance payment to purchase any supplies you might want or look around for anything else. There's plenty of vendors selling oddities and ciphers and whatnot. So if you want to peddle one of the ciphers you have, purchase another one. That's always fair game.
I meditate.
Okay.
Can I trade my oddity for another one? I want a random one.
Sure, that's fine.
I was gonna ask if I could do the same, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, there won't be
Just
too
'cause I
many
like the
instances.
My dancing ball. I like all
Sure.
these.
There won't be too many instances where you're in such a concentrated, sort of dense
Yeah.
area with vendors and things, so you won't always be able to do this. But every once in a while, capital cities, things like that, will have this sort of option. Oddities, all right. So, Cord, give me a D100.
Sure. Just so everybody in chat knows, my oddity that I am giving away is an unbreakable stemmed glass that appears empty even when full. There you go. 87.
Okay, you will not be able to trade again. I'll say it takes the better part of the evening for you to sort of pedal around, see who wants this wine glass. It's not tracking too much. No one seems too interested in your wine glass. With an 87, you managed to trade for 3 shoes that all match, that are meant for an unknown non-human tripedal creature.
Okay. All right.
What I'll say is they're very high quality sort of leather as their sort of upper, and then they have a really durable sort of synthetic, like a rubberized sole.
But there's
which is
no,
maybe
none
valuable.
of
Three
them.
Doc Martens
Yeah,
is essentially what
but
you're describing.
I like the fact that there's no left one or right one. They're all the same. So like you couldn't physically wear them because they're
Yeah, so that's what you pedal for your wine glass. And Josh, you wanted to do the same?
yeah, for my wire flower that when you blow the petals off, the
I
petals.
should have traded. That's such a good one.
And okay,
Oh.
49. Okay, so it's a plastic dodecahedron that allows you,
It's a 12-sided dice.
plastic dodecahedron that allows you to see for about 2 seconds through the eyes of a person that you've touched.
12-sided dice.
So, like, I'll say if you're holding the dice, you like touch the person with the dice, and then for 2 seconds you're seeing through their eyes instead of yours.
Does it happen instantly?
There's no description otherwise, but since it's just an oddity, so it's got to be limited in its application. I'll say, yeah, it's if you could sneak up to someone and like tap them, then you'd be able to see through their eyes for 2 seconds on the spot.
Okay.
Or whatever else you can
Which
think of.
case,
And you with the props.
hold on.
It's not a D12.
Ah, get out of here.
Other.
This is the Widowmaker. This is the D20 that fells PCs like it's its job.
Oh, good thing we're on roll 20.
Yeah.
Cool. So what I do is I actually go gambling for a short time.
Okay.
And basically,
Black.
I'm going. Yeah. No, I'm going around for a while, and then I'm just like. Can I Jekyll? Would Jekyll gamble at all?
It's Jack Lee.
Jekyll, sorry.
I mean, I can. I try not to, but I mean,
I've just got this cool little thing like to bring us together a little bit more. And then like I just imagine like people are like playing like a rudimentary version of roulette.
Sure.
And
where we bet on black.
yeah, but no, it's like that, but it's a blend of that and like poker, and like the more cards you have of a certain color, the better the odds are on a certain thing. And like whilst we're betting, like it comes to like our side of the table placing a bet, and I'm holding this dice, and I kick the guy opposite us who we're playing against in the shin, and for 2 seconds I see that he's holding a lot of black cards, and I just turn around and say, "Bet on black," and I'm just sort of thinking to myself like, that's how right. It all makes sense now, and I'm just like, "Bet on black," and then I throw you like a shin, and I'm just like, and one for me, and then I just leave the table.
Right. Okay. I kind of look at him with like an eyebrow raise, and then I try to bet on black.
How much would you bet?
I'm gonna bet 2.
Yeah, I like throw you one as well, so it'd be like a 3.
Okay. Roll a D100.
53. Does that number look good? If it was a 77, I'd win.
Or 17.
So 53 divided by 3, because you bet 3, and that'll be how many shins you took from the pool.
Cool. That's not my math.
53 divided by 3.
That's alright. I got a calculator. 17. Bam. Perfect number.
The perfect number.
Rounding down.
Maximus breaks the fourth wall to deliver.
To deliver
Yeah.
me.
Donger shins. Alright, so I got 17. Brings me to 50 shins. I am rolling.
Cool.
You've got more than 50 shins. Because you
Like
took
70. Yeah, that's right. I've got 70.
Yeah, because you're taking Will's.
Yeah. I've got
Now, did you?
75 shits.
Was there any kind of agreement between Jekli and Seto as to like what Seto gets instead of the shins? Since you
No.
guys had like a couple extra days walking.
Yeah, he
No,
just doesn't
gave
want
me
him.
the shits.
Yeah, he doesn't need him. He lives.
he lives.
Yeah, he kind of
Maybe-
doesn't believe. I guess he probably doesn't believe in currency.
Maybe there's an agreement that like Cord has to buy enough rations for both of you or something
Yeah,
at the
probably.
release.
Yeah, probably so.
In my head, you just like you walk into a shop, you pick something up, you got to leave, and they're like, "You got to pay for that." And you're like, "I don't believe in currency."
Yeah. He, in fact, he doesn't eat very much at all because he fasts most of the time. So currently he's fasting.
Cool.
But when he does,
Which caused a whole lot of trouble last week when you were in the town of Fastin.
Yes.
that's-
True.
You're in fasting. No, I
I
am
am
fasting.
So I'd probably like catch up with Jekli a little later, and I'm just like, by the way, bet on black. No, we-
Thank you. I did, and it
Oh.
was it worked out. I guess. I mean, I didn't lose money, but there you go. And I give him 4 shits.
cool.
That's your cut.
Evenly cut in half there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh yeah, no, right. I'll see you in the other bit, and I
You got it.
see you in the not now, and then I leave, and
See you
yeah,
in the later.
yeah, and I go and I spend the evening making some modifications to my gauntlet.
Sure. Alithia, would you purchase anything, go out shopping at all, spend your shins, or would you sort of keep them to yourself? Would you wander?
She spends most of the evening sharpening the blade on her sword and daggers and stuff. But other than that, at some point she would go and find Max.
Are you going to make a point to, I guess, like in the process of sharpening, taking out your weapons and putting them back? Are you trying to make sure that the other 4 don't know where you're putting them back, where your weapons are concealed, or is that not as much of a concern now that you're sort of all working together?
She'd still like to keep them concealed. She'd make sure she was sorting it all out when there wasn't anyone else there. She is a little less skeptical now, apart from with Jekli.
Sure.
But she likes to keep her weapons as concealed as possible until she really gets to know people.
Okay. And I imagine Seto is probably just like sitting there with his eyes open, and you do a couple of these, and he's non-responsive, so you're not worried about the fact that he's in the room when you're sharpening. And
Yeah.
okay.
But other than that, I will go and find Max at some point. Once I know they're all as sharp as they can be, and shiny and hidden away.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys would meet up, so I guess on the street, I guess the thoroughfare between columns of these tent structures as Max is on his way back from having assisted in Jekli's gambling. You guys get a general sense that there's much more commotion tonight than there has been, so there's obviously quite a number of people heading out tomorrow. You know that these pilgrimage expeditions, they go for like a month and a half. It's just constant influx of new people who are setting up, hiring mercs, and then mercs heading out every day. But tomorrow seems like it's quite a big day of people finally hitting the road. So.
And she bumps into Max and she's just like, would you like to go get a drink somewhere?
No, it doesn't end well for me. But you will have a great time. And then he walks off.
And she just kind of shouts after him. She's like, I was going to tell you about that thing earlier with Jekli.
Oh, right. Oh, I suppose I've already had the hangover once. It didn't kill me. And, or did I have this one? No, wait. Yeah, no, we'll discuss it over a drink. And I head back, and I come for a drink with Ellie.
Cool. We had a cool intro to the drinks in Navarine last week in a tavern called the Spotted Seski. So the similar sort of drinks will apply. Drinks come on like a numeric scale. It's not necessarily correlative to like our percentile in terms of like percentage of alcohol, but there's like a T number. So like a T0 is non-alcoholic, a T1 all the way up to 100. although it's pretty common practice that nobody would serve a drink over a T75 unless they like knew you and knew you could handle it, because above 75s, people have been known to
You'll
like,
just throw up.
yeah, they just throw up on the spot, or they end up having like suffering like brain damage, or sometimes they just die. You know, like, it's just horrible. Like anything above a 75 is dangerous stuff. And then there's sort of various, we'll say like Starbucks, like flavor shots kind of thing. That's sort of, so you pick your tea and then like whatever your like strength of alcohol, and then they have these like synthetic flavors. So you can have like, you know, my favorite drink or my go-to would be like a T45 that's flavored like a roast beef dinner or whatever. So you can sort of like pick and choose whatever your go. Well, I just described Guinness really, but your go-to drink can be any like fabricated taste. And then you have like a go-to number, but anything above 75, if you want that to be your common beverage, you have to like swindle if it's a bartender that you're not familiar with.
Cool.
So you guys can find like a rudimentary circus tent type thing, just sort of roughly circular, sort of beer tent, where there'd be someone selling alcohol.
Yeah, cool. I walk in and I go over and I say to the barman, can I get a drink, and then like if I pop back in a second, is that okay? I've just got to check what she wants. And
Yeah,
he's got like a really a smug look on his face, like he's really excited for no reason. It's like that really odd. It's just a little creepy.
Yeah, the barmaid is very, very old. She's probably in like her 80s or her 90s. And she's just sort of doing like the, you know, drops from like a little eyedropper, and then like the mixing of the syrup, whatever, to make the drinks. And she's got a really broken nose. So like one of those noses that's been broken 17 different times. So it's just sort of all over the place. And she just kind of gives you a bit of an eyebrow and says, well, yeah, just tell me what you want.
Cool. I'm just like, he's like proper looks happy with himself, and he says like, I'll have a T100 and I'll be back. And then he walks off, and then he stops and he's just like, no, oh, not a fan. Okay, I'll have a T. What did I have? A T30? I think it was a T30. Whatever you made me last time. The chocolate tea. T30 chocolate. That's it. And then I wander off and find Ellie, and I'm like, some people, no sense of humor.
Yeah, she'll give like a really nasal grunt, like, meh, and then kind of go and prep your drink. More of a honk, really. Like it's like a Canada Goose, like a honk. One of those kind of.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's how I like my bartenders.
It's the heron people. There's also other types of
The invisible legs.
swan people.
You'll notice that like I'm gonna pick creatures and like accents that all relate to Canada, because like I can't do voices, so I've got to go with what I know. That's
I
why
see a moose looking of a guy.
That's why on Saturday all of the NPCs were Quebecois.
His hair kind of sprouts out like in two horns, and then he's got very spindly legs, but a wide upper body.
And somehow a great swimmer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can't.
Cool.
I mean, if you were to drive, you probably wouldn't see him until it's too late. So
Yeah, and he'd walk away fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which has actually happened to me. That's another story.
You've hit a moose,
Yep.
Oh,
Different.
and that's actually amazing that you're alive.
Yeah.
That's great. Those things total semis.
My brother and I. Yeah, totaled our car.
Jesus. Well, I do really want to hear that story, but we'll have to save it for the time. I'm Canadian. I've never met somebody who's hit a fucking moose.
That's actually the sentence I was
Canadian.
saying at the exact. You know, I'm gonna have to say it right now. So I was talking with my girlfriend at the time. We were driving through Vermont, and she was like, "I don't want to come through Vermont, and I don't want to drive all the way to Vermont," because she was like an hour away. What a puss! And she was like, "I don't want to drive all the way there, especially at night, because I can hit a moose." And my brother was driving, and I was in this front seat, and I was like, no, well, you're never gonna hit a moose. I've been here for over 10 years, and we've never hit a moose ever, and I'm not even, let alone see one. I've seen one once, and that was like when I was a kid, blah blah blah. And then lo and behold, as I was saying this story, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta go. And then Drew kind of like swerved the car a little, and then we pulled over, and I was in shotgun, so right where I was staring, I saw the sternum and the spindly legs, right, like, because he was in low beams, because he didn't want to
Holy.
and because he didn't want to blind the car that was in front of us that was slowed down because they saw the moose. and then we so it was facing us, and then it tumbled over us, and like the side of the door or the panel where the windshield and the window meet, that corner, it took most of the force, and then it kind of front flipped or like tumbled over us, I guess head over hooves, and then landed. And then we looked in the rear view mirror. It left some blood on the car, and then we looked in the rear view mirror, and we saw in the headlights or the brake lights of the car driving behind us, that silhouette of the moose just walking away while leaving us with a totaled car. And we were like, and we were fine. Drew was really scared because he thought he hit a person, because it was standing, because like the way it looked, like the shape of it, like when we hit it, he thought like the corner of his eye he hit a person. But yeah, it was nuts.
I would wear those.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, but I mean, we were fine. Just the roof was dented, so the guy said it had to be totaled. The car door is very hard to close, so they were like,
shit.
Yeah. So that's my moose story. So hopefully lightning never strikes again. But
That could have been
crazy.
so much worse. Yikes.
Yeah, for both of us, it was nuts. It was a crazy night. Let alone we did not make it to the party.
Well,
So story time.
You had a better story than anyone at the party would have had. Yeah.
That's true.
Cool. So Josh, the nasally elderly woman will mix your, what do you say, T30 chocolate.
T30 chocolate.
T30 chocolate.
I go over.
Slide it over in a little clay cup.
Yeah, I go over and I go over to Ellie and I'm like, what did you drink again? What did you say? I can't remember.
I haven't told you yet.
Well, why haven't you told me yet?
T25 sesame snaps.
Sesame snaps. You should meet a friend of mine, Sato. He's Japanese. Oh wait, no, never mind. And I go, and I go and I find I order drinks and then I come back with drinks and I sit down and I'm just like, so what was the thing you're telling me? That something about Jekyll?
Did you hear of the whole giant centipede thing in where was it again?
Charbonne.
In Charbonne.
Charbonne. No.
He I heard that he had something to do with it.
He had something to do with a giant centipede thing in Charbonne.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people died.
And
It hasn't been mentioned yet, so I don't know.
and hundreds of people died.
There it is.
And
I break the fourth wall to look at the GM in thanks.
and I don't like him. He's scary.
You worried he'll have your hide? You know, Jekyll hide? No? Okay. Don't worry about him. He'll be fine. Unless he won't be fine, in which case,
I should be worried.
well, you shouldn't really be worried, because if he's not going to be fine, then it's already happened and you're probably already dead. So the way I look at it is, why worry about it?
Why do you talk like that?
What?
Oh, here, there, everywhere. Might not have happened yet.
No, I'm only talking here. If I was talking over there, I'd needed some kind of intercom.
You're weird. You're really weird.
I thought we already had that conversation that I was weird. Is this now?
You,
This is... Oh, right, okay, we're there. Right.
why do you keep saying that? Like things have already happened.
Things have already happened. It's called the past. You remember the memories that you have? Those are the
No,
past things that
in
happened.
the present happening, like they've already happened.
But they have already happened, because technically everything that happened
She just
is
kind
now
of
past.
puts her head in her hands and
I basically I
headbutts
pull out
the
like a pencil and I start drawing on the table and I draw like this big sort of sphere and then I start like scribbling, doodling all over the place. And I was, wibbly, wobbly, timey, wimey.
stuff.
I forget the rest. And then I finish my drink and I'm just like, yep. Still as bad as I thought it'd be. What are you drinking? again?
Sesame snaps.
T25 sesame snaps.
Yes. It's really nice. Do you want to try some?
I said, no. God, after your hangover. And I go and make myself a drink and get her another drink. And I'm just like, you've seriously never had an allergic reaction to this stuff?
She just kind of looks at you like, what?
You've never had an allergic reaction to sesame? Well, that's odd. Take some Proactivine or what do we actually have? Some stuff. Some Nitol? Do you have Nitol here? We don't have Nitol, do we? What's that stuff? Piriton. Yes. Oh, wait.
She's just looking at you like, what the fuck is he talking about?
I pull out, I've got like a journal and I pull it out and it's just an absolute mess. And like pages look like they've been ripped out and stapled in different places. And you can tell that once it was a diary, but you know how like diaries have like like they run through from like January to the next January. This one runs through in a really, really weird order and seems to have several other, like there's like 4 different Mays in there, but all of the Mays are on different years and they're out of different journals and the paper's different and they've all been stapled in. It just looks like anarchy. And I pull it out and I'm like, anti-inflammatory. That's what you need. I'll get you some if they serve it, but I don't have any ID on me, so I don't know. And he goes off and I'm going to try and find her some anti-inflammatory because I know she's allergic to sesame seeds, but she doesn't know yet.
From the barkeep?
Yeah.
Yeah, the old nasally wench. She'll ask if you're wanting another drink. You're all done with the chocolate.
I said, it was terrible, but you already knew that. My friend over there, her face balloon swelling. Do you have any of that non-balloon swelling, not like a needle to pop?
Mana. She just needs a shot of mana. And this woman will pull out a separate jar with a bit of like a spout tip and pour into a sort of shot-sized clay cup. Just this blue sort of thick liquid. Yeah, she'll just use the tip. Doesn't want to make a mess. So like a shot of what looks like blue cough syrup.
Cool. And I take it and I say, thank you. Yep, that's not how I remember it, but there you are. Take this in 4 hours and don't complain because I warned you, or I didn't.
Warned me about what?
Thank you, happy for following. Welcome to the
He just
adventure.
constantly mimes like swollen face at you as if you're an idiot, and then he leaves.
I would just like to throw it to chat that we should definitely have some fan art memes of what Maximus's journal entries would be. So like just like memes made of like newspaper clippings. Maybe somebody could draw the wibbly wobbly timey wimey diagram of what time looks like, and it's just like a bunch of fucking squiggles.
It's just a
Basically,
of
just get
wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Collage.
just find loads of like famous historical photos and just Photoshop Maximus into them, just looking perplexed or like ruining everything. It's like, like you stand there at the construction of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, going, "No, it's straight. No, don't worry, it's straight." he's like really drunk and he's like leaning and he's just like, "No, I'm telling you, it's straight."
With a construction hat on his big
But he's put it on over his baseball cap and everyone's just like,
Got a clipboard. Yeah. Cool. Can we just take a 2-minute break? I'm going to run the washroom, and then when we get back, we'll dive into sort of tomorrow morning to get the whole party back involved as this caravan finally crosses the river and
maybe runs into some goblins.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen, or maybe it has already started to almost happen tomorrow again. So we'll see.
Jack Lee, my apologies, but I said dark, and it's not my fault.
You what?
You just made a silly drink all over
You
his
made me
mouth.
laugh as I went to
I don't
inhale.
even know what I did.
You made me laugh as I inhaled my alcohol, and now it's.
Well, it's because you're inhaling your alcohol.
Drinking it. So once again, thanks, happy for following. Welcome to the adventure, my friend. once again, I should remind you guys, we've got some new games going on. We're not just playing the old ones. We've got some new games starting, such as Numenera tonight, and on Wednesday we're playing Out of the Abyss, which is the new book out from Dungeons and Dragons. We are descending, in fact, into the Underdark with everyone back with us on Wednesday, and on Thursday we are playing West Marches, which is going to be pretty exciting. We've got our second episode of that coming up. So, Josh and Beth, do you know who you're playing on Wednesday yet?
Nope.
No reveal. Oh, no reveal.
Tomorrow, so I will let you know.
Okay.
That's what my plan is for tomorrow when I get back from work, is get all that sorted.
Spend the whole day looking at the player's handbook, going, "What do I do?"
Player's Handbook?
Yeah. What about it?
Well, that's funny you should say that, Cord, because we are giving away a copy of the Player's Handbook. You can go to exclamation point giveaway, and you can win a copy of the list. We're giving it away on Halloween. Ooh,
Spooky player's handbook.
oh yeah. All right, Mitch, we're
Photoshop
back.
or art. Either
Good to
way.
go.
Cleric, either or. It's
Either
up to
or.
you.
Was there something else we had to say?
If-
Anyway, energy may be low today in channel because I don't know. Will, Linear, and myself are still recovering from yesterday morning, which was the end
say-
of our
You
24-hour
just said
stream.
Will, Delinear, and myself.
So, whatever. See, still recovering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Cleric Accord, Photoshop or art. It could be either. It depends if Photoshop has been invented in your time yet.
That's
If
true.
not, just draw it.
If not,
Fine.
MS Paint.
MS Paint.
That's been around for years.
Kid pics. Oh no.
Yep. Oh no.
Cool. So
All right, let's go.
you guys head back and finish the rest of the evening, sort of resting as best you can before tomorrow morning, bright and early, even just before dawn, sort of as the sky is only just starting to turn that sort of darker shade of blue from the black that it was to signal that dawn is coming, is when
Dawn is coming.
Lyric is sort of up and moving about, getting ready to go. He's already seems to have left your tent and come back with a pack herd animal. Will and Cord know of these pack herd animals from last week. It's sort of the common. They function as mules, so they're kind of like horses, but they're also used as oxen. They're sort of versatile pack animals. They're kind of like bipedal camels. And they've got long tails, so it's just like that's the common horse / cart animal that you would use. So Lyric has hired one of these. He's already sort of strapped on the harness and saddle. He'll be riding on this animal, drawing his cart with the strange chest as well as the hundreds of empty mason jars. And you guys take off at dawn, riding towards the river Tithe. Just before sort of what would be high noon. You finally cross the river. There is a sort of small bridge that's been erected that seems to be built on top of a foundation of just sort of roughly thrown stones. So this was in no way an overly complex or drawn-out process. And then there's just been a bunch of wooden planks that have been placed over these stones. You kind of ricket your way across the bridge and enter into the Sky Crystal Fields. They are as wondrous and it's sometimes terrifying as has been described to you for those of you who haven't been here. Like I said, everything from little slivers of purple crystal to city-sized stones are sort of floating at various heights. If you were to tap them, they would sort of do that non-gravity sort of rotation or spin. These things are just all over the place. That's all there is. There's very little vegetation. Most of the ground is quite craterous, given that these stones seem to have been ripped up from out of the ground somewhere. So there's not a lot growing here. It's mostly sort of dull brown rock and dirt. So while you are on the road, the first thing that we're going to need to have happen is I need a perception task from all four of you. The base difficulty on this perception task, perception visual, in case you're trained in one or the other, the base difficulty for this is a 4.
But we wouldn't be
One
trained in anything
success.
yet, right?
Some descriptors give skills training.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. never mind.
Training and perception.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Beth has training in perception.
So that
So
knocks out to
14
3.
on success.
right?
Yep. So Beth would roll it as a 3.
Oh, I still have something to choose then. All right, so it's 4, you said?
I got a 17.
17.
Right on. 17, of course.
Perfect number.
All right, so we got a success from Will, a success from Beth.
Okay, so it was what?
It's a base 4 perception visual, and you'd be burning intellect if you want to reduce it.
Not at all. I rolled 3.
No worries. And Maximus, do you want to roll as well?
Yeah, not so good.
Same idea. So we'll say that Maximus and Jeckley are sort of in a heated discussion about the gambling and how betting black turned out. So they're not paying as much attention to the horizon. Will and Beth, you're both going to see quite a serious dust storm that's building a few kilometers to your right. It's sort of obscured a little bit by a large sort of hill, so you can only see part of it, but it's starting to roll, and it seems to be rolling in this direction.
I turn to the group and say, "We have company," and I point.
Alicia just kind of clicks her fingers and flames start kind of lapping their way up her cloak and her clothes. And a hand disappears into her cloak and she pulls out a very shiny, very sharp sword.
Cool.
Okay.
Maximus clicks his fingers as well and looks at his hands, and nothing happens. And he's, oh, well, that's just selfish. And then he clicks some buttons on his gauntlet, and people sort of hear like a humming, sort of like a sort of like a, and then he's just like, oh for fuck's, just, and he hits it a couple of times, and then it goes a lot quieter, but it's still there.
It's the dust in the fan.
It's clear the fans out.
I see Alicia like draw her weapon and say, "There may be no need for blood to be spilled.
I hope so, but I'd rather not take the risk.
A warrior should never draw one's sword unless they mean to draw blood." And I step forwards. I start walking towards where this thing's going from.
Yeah, so most of the caravan, sort of as you guys are interacting with one another, pointing it out and discussing, like I said, you're in a caravan of probably 10 to 15 other wagons, probably about 50 individuals in total between mercenaries and pilgrims, etc. Everyone's starting to see this storm that's rolling this way, and it's causing a little bit of chaos. Some people are saying, ride on, ride harder, there's a bluff up ahead, like I know there's somewhere to go. Lyric, your employer, is one of them. He's saying to just keep riding on, keep moving forward. It's just a bit of dust. It's not a huge problem. But there are others who are asking to sort of stop and we don't want to be moving. We don't want to damage our cars. So let's pull out some tarps, etc. So there's a little bit of argument going on about that, about what to do. But for the most part, you're just slowing down your pace, but still seem to be moving forward as a group. The storm sort of rolls towards you. So those of you who drew weapons, you can see that it does seem to just look like a sandstorm of some kind. Although again, visibility inside the sandstorm is minimal, if any.
I turn to Seto, I like match his pace, and I'm walking along next to him, and I turn around and I just say, I just want to make it absolutely clear, absolutely crystal goblin clear, that I didn't vote for this. And even if I had capacity, I wouldn't have, because I exonerate all blame from myself, and then I walk towards him. We continue walking. It just makes no sense, but I continue walking.
Yeah, he doesn't pass comment.
So, Will, you said Seto's walking towards the storm, sort of off of the route of the caravan?
Yeah, I kind of start walking towards where this thing's going from.
Yeah, so there's a small hill that you can try and sort of scamper up to get a better view.
Yeah, he goes up the hill, gets a more bird's eye view.
Sure, I'll say from this vantage point, you can see towards the base of this storm, you're seeing a number of the crystal shards being thrown around in different directions. So with the high vantage point that you have over this hill, this is a very serious and very strong windstorm, whatever it is. It's not just dust. It's blowing around this sort of sea of crystals violently. And it's going to be upon this caravan in a matter of minutes.
I shout down to the caravan. I say, what do I say? I say, get our valuables away. and I point to like a direction where they might be able to escape this oncoming storm.
Yeah, I'll say there's a number
And
of
then I
craters.
run down the hill.
Number of craters on either side of the road that would provide sort of like lower points, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of point to one of these and say, "Get it in there!" And I start running down the hill to escort.
Cool. Lyric starts to sort of panic a little bit. He hops off of his pack herder and sort of gestures to Jekyll, to help him with his chest. He's not concerned at all with the mason jars, but the desk-sized chest he wants taken off of this wagon. So he gestures for Jekyll, help me with this. We gotta get this thing in the crater.
Right, sure.
Okay, so you guys huff this thing. It's extremely light. Is the first thing you notice. It's not nearly as heavy as it is
he's
large.
and almost falls over because he was ready and expecting something.
Yeah, almost
heavy.
like throws it into the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, I run over and go. Whoa, careful with that, because it contains that. Oh wait, I don't know what it contains. Do I? Yes.
Yeah, Lyric's going to give you a bit of a stink eye and say none of you were to look into this. Yeah.
And say, well, if I looked into it, it would have all got out, wouldn't it?
He's going to give you a little bit of this, and then he's just going to keep shuffling as this storm starts to build. At this point, all the other caravans are equally starting to panic. Little shrieks and cries and barked orders left and right as people start getting as many of their valuables as they can. There's a number of the other caravan leaders going to get their actual animals into this sort of crater to the side, and eventually this storm does sort of whip over you. So visibility is next to nothing right now as the initial waves of sand start to sort of pour over, and you guys can all get into this crater, and then there's going to be the beginning of the peppering of these crystal shards being whipped around. You're going to hear a number of sort of thuds left and right, and I'm doing this somewhat bluntly, but I want to sort of introduce Beth and Josh to the XP system. So what I'm going to say is, Beth and Josh, you can both take an XP. So how it works for chat for those who aren't familiar with Numenera or who are just tuning in this week. Common to most D20 systems, when somebody rolls a 1, the DM can intervene and make it exceptionally shitty because of the die roll of a 1, not just to fail, something extra happens. In Numenera, I can do that whenever I want without there needing to be a roll at all, let alone a 1. But if I'm going to intervene in such a way, I have to give the player an experience point. And then at any point, they can spend XP to refuse those intrusions, or they can spend XP to re-roll. So I'm going to say Beth and Josh each can take 1 XP, and you two are going to have more threatening crystal shards fly towards you as everyone's sort of huddling in this crater. So you're going to have to make speed defense rolls, whereas Cord and Will, no rolls required for you. You just kind of cover your head, and nothing comes towards you.
That's right.
So the difficulty of this speed defense task starts at a 5 is the base. So you would be able to reduce the difficulty by spending speed points.
Because I am trained in perception, can I knock it down because I can see it coming?
I'll say because you're trained in perception, you can have an asset, which would reduce this by 1. Because of the dust storm, that's sort of why these things are so threatening.
Nice.
And then also, you're trained in speed defense when you're not wearing armor because of your trained in
Yeah,
that
and
armor.
I'm not wearing armor, so it knocks it down to a 3.
Yep, so you get a base 3, whereas Josh, you're starting with a base 5.
Cool.
Well, I got a 12, so I succeed.
Okay, so you sort of tuck and roll as one of these shards shatters next to you.
Cool. But yeah, Maximus has as one of his special abilities anticipation. Which would you like to explain how anticipation works real quick?
Yeah, so how anticipation works is it takes an action to activate. So I'll say that it won't be able to use it for this one. This thing is coming at you. Had you declared before, whatever. In combat, it takes sort of your standard action as the economy it uses up. It costs 1 intellect point, but because Josh's intellect edge is 1, it costs nothing. It's a free ability. And Josh basically sort of looks forward in time and anticipates what he's going to need to do or what complications might arise, and it gives him an asset on his next roll, whatever that roll is.
Cool. So I'm going to use anticipation, and But that would cancel out my speed.
Well, so it'll reduce the DC by 1 because you've got the asset. So 1 reduction. So you're now at a base of 4 for the difficulty, and then you can spend speed points to reduce that again.
Cool. I'll spend 1 speed to reduce.
It costs 3 speed points per level of DC that you want to reduce.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So it'll be 3 speed points to get it down to 3.
Right, okay. 2 adjustments. Okay, cool. In which case, I'll roll it on a 4.
Okay.
Success.
Hey, okay. So the large shard sort of shatters next to you. You can describe how that looks in terms of you like anticipating and then somehow getting out of the way.
In my mind, like basically, he looks down, and you know those dance mats that you occasionally see. Like that one of them, like appears like a hallucination, and he just dances like around the shots, and he's just like,
ER.
Dance, yeah.
yeah, exactly, and he's just like, I knew that.
Forward, back, left, back, forward. I knew it.
Yeah.
I nailed it. Crushed it. Yeah. Cool.
And splits.
So none of you take damage from this. The storm rolls over for the better part of 10 or 15 minutes. It doesn't last very long before it passes on. You hear a number of sort of shrieks and cries left and right from other people being similarly pelted or nearly so by these flung crystal shards. You hear one pack herder let out a kind of a noise, somehow having been injured in some capacity. All the animals, by the way, are going to sound like geese in this iteration of Numenera's Ninth World. And then when the dust settles,
Highly annoying wilderness.
as the dust settles, you can see that a number of the wagons have been damaged. Your wagon hasn't been damaged. Your pack herder still seems to be all right, although it was sort of knocked over, and it does one of these. Actually, I don't know how it would look for it to clumsily get back on its feet because it's a bipedal tailed camel, so I don't really know how that would look, but it doesn't.
Use its giant neck to like.
We need to use its face to. So the odd beast gets back on.
It has a calloused face because that's how it sleeps.
It's like a forehead.
Yeah.
Gets up all right. There is one woman who's been pretty seriously injured. Her entire left leg has been sort of mangled. It looks like most of the flesh on the outside of the leg has been sort of torn off, as if something kind of like scored through it. So there's a number of attendants sort of bandaging her. This caravan's not going anywhere for the moment. You guys are at a bit of a standstill as everyone's sort of assessing the damage. Beth, you are going to hear off to the distance, sort of to the left, the direction that the storm was going in. You're going to hear additionally, given that you're sort of trained in perception, you're going to hear a faint sort of moaning sound that kind of sounds like a bit of a squawk, kind of like a rah, rah, off the distance. That wasn't a goose. That was distinct. It was like the South Park giraffe noise. Rah.
I turn round to see if I can see where the noise is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see an object or a creature making the noise, but you know, based on having heard it, the direction it's coming from. There's lots of rocks and things have been sort of thrown about, so the landscape looks a little bit different. Again, these craters are always sort of being refilled and reopened up. So you can all, it is indeed a Galvatron. Beefers. It is.
FIFA, is that a reference, buddy?
I'm really short, so I'm gonna.
It's Galvatron.
Throwback.
Yeah, I'm really short. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get Max over and see if he can see anything from where I am. Like pointing directions. Like, I heard something. Can you see what it is?
He comes over and he like flicks through like a couple of like different settings to try on his lenses, like to try and find the magnifier, and then he's just like clicks it into place and sort of, and then he just looks at your face and he's just like he's basically just staring at a very close up of your face and he's just like.
I love the blank eye contact that you make on a regular basis. Just.
Why?
He's got things to tell her, but he doesn't know how to.
Yeah, Josh, I'll say for sure from like the higher vantage point in your goggles there, you can definitely see sort of a boulder that's been sort of split in two by one of these shards that sort of was sort of punched right into it, and sticking out from underneath one of the halves of the boulder, you can see a bunch of sort of bundles, I guess, of look like. So you can only see a little bit of a corner. There seems to be something else behind this half of a boulder that's been knocked on its side onto some type of bed of thistle.
I say,
Like desert brambles, like dry vegetation stuff.
yeah. I point up there and I say, there's something up there. It's not like glowing, but it says, look at me.
She rolls her eyes and kind of she wanders up to see if she can get a better view
I walk
and
with
actually
you, I
see
walk
what's
at you, and
going
I'm
on,
like,
rather than just have
yeah.
the
I
kind of.
I walk up with you, and the whole time I'm just like, I bet it's collectible, or like it gives us some power, or maybe it's just something to do with the story. Of I forget what the story is. Know what the story is? Did you?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Max. What is it?
Something about
Could
catching
you-
them all. I just can't.
I'm
Can't
pointing-
quite remember.
it's the thing. It's the driving. It's supposed to develop the. No, okay, right.
She's
Fucking
really
useless.
struggling to see over all the boulders and stuff. It's just like, pick me up. Can I just make me see it?
Make you see it. I'm just I like take your head in my hands and like make you look at it. I'm just like, there, the thing, the glowing thing. It's really obvious. Except it might not actually be glowing, but it
There is nothing glowing. All I can see is a broken boulder, and then she kind of sees the thing that's under it. It's just like, I'll be back in a minute. And she kind of runs up to get a closer look.
Sure. So as you sort of run around, it was less of a height issue. I mean, the height exposed some of the thistles that were sticking out, but you had to kind of more so get around the side of this half boulder that was split to see what looks like has been disturbed is a nest and a number of eggs about the size of sort of watermelons have been sort of crushed, and you can see the sort of half-formed fetuses that were in them that obviously have been killed. But there was one egg that was sort of bumped and cracked, but was sort of pushed away and sort of rolled out of the nest. And so the egg has got a crack in it, and there looks to be a small kind of beak that's sort of like puncturing its way out of and trying to crack out of this shell, but it doesn't seem strong enough to be able to actually puncture the shell. You know, it's only exposed because of the boulder having hit it, and it's a little white beak that's making this noise.
I come
She's
over.
just like, it's a baby.
It's not a baby. Babies don't have beaks.
It's a baby.
Also, what kind of
something.
baby? What kind of babies have you seen born in an egg? It's just. Oh, it's
Animal
not okay. Animal
babies.
baby. Okay, that makes more sense.
And
And then I put a cautioning hand. And I'm just like, careful. I had a mate once. He told me about this. It was a gal. No, I forgot.
She's just completely ignoring you. She kind of runs off and
Galvatrix.
picks up the egg.
Galvatrix. That's it. Galvatrix.
She picks up the egg and tries to help the little beak. She kind of breaks a bit of the shell away, and
He warned you. I told you you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, surely you've heard of him and his message. No? Fuck's sake.
Thank you, Art Teach,
come
for
over
following.
and-
Welcome to the adventure, my friend. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Sir.
Welcome.
Gentleman
So
and an artist.
Beth, as you sort of help pry open this egg, you can see that this creature, best way I can describe it in terms of modern references, is it's kind of like a pterodactyl-esque in that it doesn't have four limbs. It's got sort of two hind legs, and then its sort of four limbs are its wings, leathered wings, not feathered at all. Again, there's a lot of goo, given that this thing wasn't quite ready to hatch yet. It's almost all white, but it does have sort of a bluish tinge on sort of the bottom of its leathery wings. So as you open it, it immediately is sort of dealing with the sunlight and obviously the bit of dust that's still residual from the storm. So it's trying as best it can to use its eyes, and it immediately starts sort of reaching towards you, the first that it sees.
I look at you and I'm just like,
she's not paying attention
Oh.
to the thing you're doing.
okay.
And she's just like, it's so cute. And she kind of picks it up and she looks at it. She's just like, I'm gonna call you Billy.
I'm just like, oh god. And then I'm just like, wait.
Uh, For cinematic effect, Beth, you can take an XP, and Billy's going to throw up all over you.
Cool.
That's
I
fine.
hear, and I'm just like, ah. No, that's not it. How does it go? Never mind. He's like, he vaguely remembers a film about dinosaurs, and he's just like,
And that's sort of getting mixed up about, like, some kind of, like, feline being held up like this or something. Yeah, that's all.
yeah, and I'm just like, you should call him Finbar. No, Simba. That's it. What is it? I've heard of one of them.
What is that place over there? That is the ninth world, Simba.
You must never.
Never go there.
So we'll just
That is an Asterion, Simba.
we'll push pause on Beth doing the Rafiki. So Will and Cord.
I need to go pee real quick.
Will and there's sort of two more pressing issues to be dealt with to get this caravan moving. One is the damaged caravans, and the other are wounded individuals. So if either of you wants to
with the fleshed leg, right?
attempt any kind of first aid or attempt any kind of engineering or sort of repair on any of these carts, or sort of two of the options outside of anything else, of course, because this caravan is not moving at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to the caravan, and then have Seto would probably try to help her, but he'd be like, "You,
I go
dishonor," and then you'd probably kill her.
No. I go. He goes to the woman. He's
Okay, cool.
if she's in distress, he's he's honourable to help this woman. He doesn't really know. He doesn't understand women yet, so but he understands that they should be treated well because he's never actually interacted with women before. But
she's sort of at that stage of shock where she's like not really screaming or crying anymore. There's just so much pain and there's just so much gore down her leg. You can see most of her thigh bones. And
I bow to her. My name is Seto Yashuan. Are you okay?
One of the men next to her is going to see you bow and say, "Well, what the hell do you think?" Like, and he's sort of frantically trying to get bandages together and things, and he's calling out if anyone has any water. We need water to clean her wounds before you bandage them. She obviously doesn't respond directly to your very courteous introduction.
Yeah, he knows kind of like some like pressure points and like ways that you like snap someone out or something. Like he's probably been taught these ways of like hand-to-hand combat, so he kind of goes up to her and finds some pressure points and just kind of snaps them to try and to get her out of this.
Pinches a nerve. So this is actually another really cool thing that you can do, and it's I haven't had it happen too much, but you can also spend XP to gain limited skill proficiency that you didn't have prior to. So you can spend 1 XP to say, because circumstantially you really want to do something, you can spend an XP to like give yourself the ability to do something fairly minor and specific that you didn't have before. If you want to spend an XP, I'll say that you don't even need any kind of roll or anything like that, and then now you just have the ability to do some kind of pacifying nerve pinch.
All right. Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. So another instance would be, let's say someone's not trained in using computers, and there's no one trained in computers, and we really need to use this computer for something important. A character could spend an XP and say, "Oh, that one time that I worked at that office building, even though I'm not trained in all computers, this is the same OS that they use," or something like that. So you have this like limited background story that sort of gives you a restricted skill proficiency.
Awesome. So yeah, I kind of just pinch these nerves, and she's like her body just reacts to coming out of whatever shock it is through pain.
Cool, yeah. So she obviously kind of gasps with a large intake of breath, given that she was panting really, really quickly, and sort of, does it knock her out unconscious, or just sort of like...
No, it just kind of brings her back in, yeah.
Cool. So she sort of looks up to you, still kind of deer in
My
the headlights.
name is Seto Yashuan. You will be better now. And I place a hand on her forehead. Peace be upon you. And I stand up.
She'll grab at your wrist and just sort of look up to you and just say, "Naomi," as you sort of step back.
I say,
Well, you introduce yourself. She just says, "Naomi."
I thought she said nail me.
Me too.
You
Yes, I was like,
thought
wow,
she
this
just looked-
escalated.
Sorry.
She just looked up at me and told me.
Nailed me.
Naomi.
Deep into your eyes.
I was about to say, I have
Commanding
no
you.
nails. Yeah, I say,
Manata mater.
yeah, I say, it is an honor, Naomi.
She'll let out a gasp and just say, sort of, thank you. And at this, some of the other men that are there are pouring some water on her wound and trying to dab away as much of the dust and dirt as they can before wrapping it up.
Cool. I give her a little smile, and then stand up.
Okay. Cord, you said you wanted to help with fixing some of these carelings.
Yes. I'd like to try to get the cart fixed and probably the cart. I was gonna be like, probably check on the herd animals, but fuck them. Cart's
Sure.
probably more important.
Sure. I'll say Naomi's cart was in a bad way, given that she
Yeah.
was as well. So there's no one really attending to it right
Probably
now.
the cart shrapnel skinned her leg or something.
Yeah, something sort of just pulled the wrong way and just sort of scored its way along her leg. Yeah. So the focus would be to sort of trying to get the axles reset and the sort of the wheels back on, sort of thing. Obviously, the cart's not going to be able to take quite as much weight as it had before, but yeah, you can make a repair check. It'll be intellect based. I don't imagine there's not much machine wise. This is all fairly like
I
basic
do have a bag of tools.
carpentry stuff. Yeah, I'll say your tools can give you an asset on this. So
Hell yeah.
the base difficulty on fixing Naomi's cart would be a 4. Your tools will bring it down to a 3.
Coolio. So with my 3 times 3 is a difficulty of actually 9 on the dice. So I rolled a 14, which is better than 9. So that is a success.
Cool. So I'll say it'll take a little bit of time. It's not an immediate thing. So you're sort of working away at that,
Yeah.
getting her cart back up and running. We'll turn back to Beth and Josh with this little creature that seems to have a bit of a maternal connection with Beth, at least initially.
She looks really happy and it's really cute. And it's just like,
And it's also vomiting on you violently, but sure.
Which is adorable.
Actually, you can both make intelligence checks to know what this is. The base difficulty is only going to be a 2 to know what this creature is.
2. Okay.
Let's see how smart you are. Let's see how many of those films you actually watched.
I got 5, so I don't
Wow.
have any clue.
Okay, so Beth has no idea what this thing is.
Cool. I've seen.
She
the
doesn't
film,
care.
so-
She's fallen. She's got proper maternal instincts. She's like, it's a baby and it needs my help.
literally doesn't.
Cool. Josh, did you want to roll to see?
Yeah, sorry, I did.
Cool. No worries.
I'm just like it's not a baby. It's a violent killing machine.
Yeah, so Josh, you know that I'll say you can't remember the name. That's sort of muddled because there's so many names of things it could be. You're struggling with like a PT, whether it starts with a P or a T, from one of your iterations that you might have encountered. So I'll say you don't have access to the name of this creature, but you do know that these things grow to have like a 45 to 60 foot wingspan.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just like,
The P is silent.
yeah.
Perturbed.
I'm just like, this is the thing that what did he call it? Yeah, the Gizatron, Galvatrix. This is a Galvatrix. This is I've encountered one of these before in one of my many travels with they just like chicken. Do we have
Mate,
chicken?
we need a side adventure of Maximus and Finbar and how they came to meet.
Yeah.
gonna
Fighting one of these things.
Gonna happen. That'll be a one shot that we'll do at some point. It'll be the best.
Can I keep it?
I'm just like, you can keep it. You can. Okay, all right. How about you
He's just
keep?
asking you for permission.
Yeah, I'm just like, how about you keep it until we find some seasoning, and then we'll.
No, cannot eat Billy. And she kind of hugs it protectively to her chest, and she kind of wraps her cloak around it. It's like, no eating Billy.
I was like, I'm not trying to eat Billy. I'm trying to eat the Galvatrix. Billy is a stupid name. There is. Oh god,
That was
Heath.
amazing. That was so good.
It sounds like
Don't listen to him, Billy. He's being mean. He's not going to eat you, I promise.
you can't hear me. You're smothering him to death. Oh no, Jesus.
So while
I just
Alithia,
had to nuzzle my hair, like
while
around him and
Alithia
give him cuddles and stuff.
Alithia sort of cementing this maternal relationship with the Galvatrix, and Maximus is just discussing the various recipes he can recall. There's like a pot pie version. There's like a stew. There's something with like a lot of rosemary, some lemon.
Keep repeating, you're not eating Billy. Leave Billy alone.
Reciting all the recipes. We'll say Cord is sort of obviously busy working. Jeckley's repairing the caravan.
Voicing Billy.
Voicing Billy in an outstanding manner. So this only leaves, appropriately, Seto Yeshwan relatively unoccupied. Seto, roll me a perception task. And this is auditory, and the difficulty is only a 2 as a base.
All right. 0 successes, the boys. He rolled a 5.
Nice.
And he needed a 6.
Okay, so you don't hear much, which means that there's not going to be any kind of advantage afforded or early notice. Following close behind, I guess, coming in the same direction that the sandstorm came in, you were all going to hear at the same time. You're going to start to hear various like crackles and pops, like the sounds of like motorcycle engines like not functioning would be the closest equivalent. And there's sort of dozens of these noises. As you all sort of turn and look, obviously you're all right now sort of in a crater except for Cord, who's fixing the caravan. So Cord, you'll see this first. You're going to see like a line, not a phalanx, like a clumsy line of these purple crystals.
A phalanx.
Phalanx of these purple crystals, all of them roughly the same size, about sort of 3 to 4 feet across. They all have various contraptions sort of strapped to the backs of them. These contraptions are sort of popping and crackling, emitting quite a lot of smoke and fume. But it's obviously propelling these crystals that sort of don't respond to gravity on their own. These dozen or so crystals are all being rowed by very small humanoid creatures with large sort of pointed ears. They've all got dusty goggles on, and they are armed to the teeth. They're wearing sort of bone necklaces. They've got like mounted hand spike weapons and things. Some of them have shields, some of them have flails. And they are following in this storm, and they are letting out a rallying cry as their mounted crystal bike things are driving them towards this helplessly stopped caravan. So we are going to roll. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Seto kind of takes us in a moment, draws his sword, looks back and says, "Protect Naomi." And I step forwards to meet them.
And then there's just you hear Maximus's voice just yell out from the distance, "Called it."
I saw this one coming.
Nice.
Olivia just kind of seeing it all, kind of rags her cloak off and wraps up Billy, and runs over to her to the cart and puts Billy in there. She's like, "Stay there. Don't want to get hurt now, do you?" And then she clicks her fingers and her flames just kind of erupt like no one's ever seen them before, and this proper like Ghost Rider style big flames licking around her and stuff. It's just like, this is why I drew my sword. And yeah.
Cord, can you give me an affirmative squawk from Billy? Like an okay. Those are sweet. Okay, so how initiative works in Numenera, similar to any other task, and this is where you'll get a sense. The learning curve is not very steep in this game. All tasks are rolled the same way. All you're doing is you're rolling against a fixed difficulty, just like you would on a skill check or anything else, and the difficulty is determined by the level of the creature. So these goblins are level 3. So all you're doing is rolling an initiative task, and you can be trained in initiative, just like you can be trained in climbing or whatever else, which would reduce the DC. So you're rolling an initiative task, which is a speed task, obviously. If you succeed, you get to go before the bad guys. If you don't, you don't, and that's how it sort of generates the turn order. So these sort of mounted goblins on these strange little hover crystals
there's going to be 6 of them fighting the 4 of you, while the other 6 are sort of being fended off by the other mercs in your larger caravan. So I need an initiative roll from everybody. Jeckley is successful on his. The difficulty base is 3. You can spend speed points to decrease the difficulty to make sure you go first, if that's important.
I didn't succeed. I got a 7.
So now here's a question: if let's say Will was to roll and succeed, do we go by the higher roll?
I got a nat 20.
So does that mean
I
does
got
he
the
go
10.
first? Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a big believer in, like, if there's multiple members of a party within the same block between enemies, they
Do
can,
something together.
if they can come up with a cool thing to bounce back and forth, then I don't really
Cool.
care.
All right. But as of turn order, it would go Josh, and then whoever rolled higher between Will or I. Is that like because?
Sure, yeah. I mean, so you and Josh and Will all succeeded. I'll say Josh goes first just because he got the 20.
20. Yep.
But then you and Will can interchange. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
On a right, I'm going to make an attack. Using my gauntlet. What do I get any bonuses for it being a nat 20? Because that will affect what I do.
Yeah, so what I'll say is that'll give you an asset on your first attack, which will reduce the DC. Making attacks is identical to rolling initiative. These creatures have a base level of 3, so your base DC on trying to hit them with an attack is a 3.
Cool. Plus an asset. I'm going to. I'm going to attack for a 2. Is it?
Yeah.
And
so
my attack.
yeah, what does your gauntlet do?
Right. So my gauntlet. I just look at them. I'm just like cavalry charge. Well, we all know what cavalry charges are countered with. I think. Please be right. And he hits his gauntlet and he's like, ha! And nothing happens. And there's like some spark. And he's like, they're still coming. That wasn't, for fuck's sake. And he smacks it, and then there's like basically like a cyan sort of very intense white at the center, almost a light turquoise at the edge. Spark appears like alongside to the left of like this cavalry charge, and seems to split open, and like a crack appears, and essentially a medieval cavalry charge comes through a rift in time and just countercharges them from the side, and then like as it reaches the end, they all these guys look incredibly perplexed as they come through, and then a second one appears on the other side, and they all like vanish out. They're all wearing like, they look like they're sort of maybe from what kind of period would we say? They're Khans. No, they're Khans. They're actually Khan raiders. They're Germanic tribe raiders all come through, and they just have no clue what the fuck is going on. Decimate through the side of them, and then just vanish again. And I'm just like, well, that's new. No, I just look at Sato, and I'm like, fucking didn't see that coming.
Okay, so I'm just going to dial back a little bit. So your weapon is a sort of strange, weird time gauntlet thing.
Yeah.
Is it a light, medium, or heavy weapon as far as like your proficiency and like how did you classify it?
I think I put it as a proficiency. It's a medium weapon.
Okay. And so I am totally fine, and I fully endorse absurd narrative uses of that weapon in that way. But again, for sort of combat balance, what we'll say is your one attack roll, only one of these goblins is going to actually like take damage from this charge.
No, absolutely. And I mean, they weren't exactly expecting to be. It wasn't like I summoned them for the specific reason. They just happened to be at the wrong plane of existence at the wrong time.
Sure.
And one of them probably just went, "Fuck this guy," and just smacked him around the face. And I was
Cool,
just
sounds
like,
good. So your charge can like roll through, and what I'll say is that there'll be sort of like an accidental or sort of errant, like a blade that just happens to like carve across the chest of one of the goblins, dealing 4 damage, given that it's categorized as a medium weapon. Cool, sweet. All right, Will and Cord. So right now the goblins are still sort of in a line. They're not moving that fast. The contraptions that are sort of strapped to these crystals seem to allow for sort of like not full like 360 motion because there's nothing on the front, but they can go sort of side to side or backwards. So they're not really charging as much. They were just sort of coming towards you, and now they're sort of breaking off in different directions, obviously given this charge that just hit them laterally.
Gotcha. I'm kind of. I guess he's just pacing slowly. He's kind of gets into an internal breathing rhythm thing, which he does when he's in a fight, and he walks towards them to, I guess, get to into combat with some of them.
Yeah, they're all close enough. I'll say, had you made the perception task initially, you would have been able to respond further away. But they're upon you guys for all intents and purposes. So
yeah, I walk over to the nearest group of them to attack, and he's very much on. He's trying to block the way from like the caravan and where Naomi is.
Sure.
And he's very much kind of. Trying to stop anyone that gets in the way and engage them in combat.
I'll say
dreaded hope for falling. Welcome to the adventure, my friend.
I'll say there are two of these crystal-mounted goblins, sort of very near to Naomi, and the two men, one of whom has drawn a knife, and that seems to be the extent of what these two men have to defend themselves as they stand over Naomi. So there's two of these goblins over Naomi.
All right, I go. Yeah, in that case, he'd run over to there to engage them, and. Go for some slices at the one which maybe has like a dagger raised or something like that.
Sure.
And
base,
yeah. Go ahead.
Base 3 on these guys. Just a reminder.
Okay. Perfect. He's not angry, but he finds it insulting that they're attacking an unarmed woman. Well, just the fact that she's unarmed. Yeah, and wounded. Yeah, it's very dishonorable. So here's I'm using my thrust. This is. I'm trying to remember things. The weapon master doesn't have anything to do with it, does it?
Yeah, no. So you've got a base 3, which is the same, and using thrust just increases the damage, and weapon master increases the damage as well. So you're getting a total of 3 additional damage. So you do 7 on a hit because it's a medium two-handed sword, and then +2 for weapon master, +1 for thrust. But you're still going to land a hit on a base 3.
All right. Yeah. I just remember that. So here's a success.
Wham!
Damage. That's a lot.
Okay, so you can describe a near fatal wound to one of these goblins, but he's still just barely hanging on.
Cool. I make him turn to face me. So I kind of pull him round so that he's facing me because I won't stab him in the back. And then I kind of thrust into him, and it's
good guy.
Point in his chest. Yeah.
Straight in the chest. I'm bleeding from my chest. Okay.
Very dishonorable. That's right, Beatles.
Okay, and Cord will say that there's one of these goblins at the front of your wagon and one at the back of the wagon, and you were sort of working on the wagon. They don't know that you're there at this point, but there's one on either side of the wagon.
Cool. I guess if they're that close, I'm going to... he's going to flick out his wrist, or flick out his arm, and the wrist blade slides out. And then it's probably about 1.5 feet, 17 inches.
Of course.
Yep. And he is going to try to sneak to the front of the wagon where one of the goblins are. And once I see that hostility has and aggression has arisen within this conflict, I'm going to go and grab one of his calf and then take the blade and slice the back of his knee, and hoping for some arterial severing.
All the bleeds
damage. So with this,
because he doesn't know you're there yet, you can have an asset on this, so it reduces it by 1. So the base is 2.
Cool. All right. So this would be speed or might.
Is that a light weapon?
It's a light weapon.
Then it can be speed or might based.
Okay.
Depending on how you use it.
2.
Base difficulty of 2.
Base difficulty of 3, but I give it an asset, so now it's 2. Yeah. Okay. So go down, click this button, and hope for the best. I clicked the button, nothing happened. Okay. 1 success, just barely.
Cool. So your light weapon does 2 damage. So you can describe that how you like.
Yeah, like I said, he crawls forward, flips out the wrist blade, slides, and then he grabs his calf and slices the back of his knee before any, and then probably pulls the leg so he trips and falls. Actually, probably wraps both his. He's gonna grab the other leg, the ankle of the other leg, slice the one leg with the back of the leg, and then when he goes to like lift it up in pain or whatever, he's gonna yank it so it falls on his back. So he falls on his back.
Okay, so had you rolled higher than 7 on your success, I'd
fall.
allow you to have the additional sort of tripping and fall, that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
A 7, we'll say that he sort of, the minute you start to cut into him, he's sort of pulling his leg away, going, ah, and sort of, trying to pop and pop, whistle, and move his mount sort of away from you as best he can as he's being stabbed. Sliced. Okay, so Will, you've got the 2 that were standing over Naomi, one of whom you've just stabbed right in the chest. Sort of as you're stabbing him in the chest, he's just going to sort of gear towards you with his dagger and try and stab into your neck. So you need to make a speed defense task, base of 3.
All right.
You are trained in
Base
speed
of
defense, if I
3.
recall.
I am trained in speed defense, yes. So that takes down to a 2. For a success, just. I
Okay, so
guess
you can-
he kind of pirouettes out of the way and keeps his balance perfectly as a. Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
it's not like a dainty pirouette, but it's kind of like it's not a solid one, but it is kind of like a
trained
he's like a-
militaristic.
yeah.
Fluid,
It's like a
yeah.
panther.
Fluid. As you're
Yes.
pirouetting, the minute your back is turned to the other goblin, he is going to throw a cylindrical device with a blinking light on it in your direction.
That is so dishonorable.
You can take 1 XP. You don't get the opportunity to dodge this. Everything within an immediate radius is going to burst with electrical sort of sparks and streaks, dealing 3 damage. This includes dealing 3 damage to the goblin you just stabbed, which in fact kills it. But it does 3 damage to you as well, and as well to the man standing next to you.
So here's a question. My might was on 9 still, so I guess it still was. So I'll go down to 6.
Yeah,
Since
so
last
this is
time.
might damage, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now Josh, the goblin that was somehow struck by a Hun that sort of charged past him, he's going to be sort of all out of sorts, but he did see you at least point the gauntlet, so he's going to grab what looks kind of like a dart, like a mini spear, and he's just going to throw it in your direction. So you need to make a speed defense task of 3.
Cool. I'm going to spend a. What am I on? Yeah, I'll spend 3 to break that
Okay,
down.
so spending 3 speed points to make it a base 2.
Yeah. Nope, still 0 success.
Okay, so you are going to take 3 damage from 3 might points, 3 damage to your might pool from this dart.
Cool.
Nice. I'd just like to remind anyone in chat that hasn't yet hit the follow button, please do. As Mordark was just saying, you can win some free gold for our dungeon. And you can also enter our giveaway for a free copy of the Player's Handbook.
All right, now Cord, you just sort of revealed yourself from under this wagon. As you slashed into this goblin's leg as he's on his mount, he's going to sort of whip his mount around to the side and swing down at you with his flail. The head of the flail is not any kind of actual manufactured iron weight with spikes. It's just a sort of collection of randomly like strapped together bits of shrapnel that he sort of swings down on a chain at you. So speed defense task
just a
of
sock
3.
with- It's just a sock with a bar of soap in it. It just swings at your face.
Yeah.
That is the flail. Yep. It's 3. You said.
Base 3 for the shrapnel flail. Speed defense, so speed points if you want to lower it. Okay, 3 damage from the shrapnel flail.
Might.
Yep, 3 to your might pool. Unless otherwise specified, most damage starts dealing might.
In might.
Things like poisons and toxins will deal direct damage to your speed, and then obviously psionics deal int damage.
Thank you, Reach to Infinity and Jasselvine, for following. Welcome to the adventure, my friends. Gentlemen and scholars all.
All right, now, Cord, there was another goblin near that wagon, and at the sound of his compatriot shrieking, and then the clunk of you getting hit by this shrapnel flail, he's going to maneuver his crystal mount over, and he's going to sort of stab at you with a spear. So another speed defense task.
His pod racer.
In my head, I was literally just thinking that sounds like Sebulba's pod racer.
Yeah. Poodle.
Mad respect.
So,
Base difficulty 3, speed defense.
speed defense. All right. So what I'm gonna do here, on my speed, is I'm gonna knock some of my points down. I'm gonna knock it down 3 points to reduce. Oh, I knocked down 2. To reduce this from a 3 to a 2, and hope for the best. Still failed.
Okay, 3 might damage as you get speared.
Jeez.
Jeez. Okay, now Beth, you've sort of positioned yourself right next to Larrick's cart, having just sort of deposited Billy there for safekeeping. One of these goblins is going to sort of rear up its mount just sort of at the back end of the cart, so he's sort of hovering now above the cart, which is sort of twice as high off the ground as he was. And he's going to sort of quick look around, survey, see, and his sort of eyes are going to light up when he sees the chest. Obviously a big fancy chest, as well as this little baby creature. And he's going to see that you're on fire and go kind of, ah! And he's concerned that you're on fire. And he's going to
He immediately
throw...
jumps down was to put you out.
He's gonna throw kind of like a bola at you, but it's got spikes on either end. He's gonna throw Ebola.
Does he then say nail me?
From
He's
goblins.
just like he's like yelling like abusive like stuff in like all these chitters and barks, but really all he's saying in his language is just stop, drop and roll, stop, drop and roll.
I'm trying to help you.
He like, tries to take her legs out, she'll roll on the floor.
Yeah, so Beth, you need to make a speed defense task. The base is 3. For you, it goes down right away because you're trained in speed defense, so it starts at a 2 for the spiked bola.
Nice.
Now, he doesn't throw it in any kind of efficient
No
way that would like
success.
trip you. He doesn't try to do anything special with it. It was a very crude throw, so it's just like one of the balls like pops you in the shoulder and gives like a serious puncture wound before rolling off. So you take 3 damage to your might pool, and then you get to go right away responding.
What I'm gonna do is basically, as my sword, I level my sword, and the flames just kind of lap down the sword and envelop the sword. And I'm going to stab him, but I am skilled in unarmored combat. I'm trained without armor.
It would be a separate skill. So if you want to reduce the base DCs to land hits, you pick a category of weapons. So like you would pick, I'm trained in using light weapons, medium weapons, heavy weapons, that sort of thing. And that allows you to reduce as the base. But normally just proficiency means there's no negative.
What about Pierce? Because it has a pointy bit. I want to stab him through the belly.
The ability Pierce.
Yes.
I think it just does extra damage.
that
It won't
extra
change
damage?
I'll double check here.
I have had a look,
Costs,
but I can't find
costs
it.
1
Yeah.
speed point, so I'd imagine it's.
Do.
I did have a look, but I couldn't find it. So.
It's all good. I'll find it in 2 seconds here. As a Jack first tier, using the Pierce ability costs 1 speed point. You make a well-aimed, penetrating attack. It deals 1 additional weapon, very similar to thrust, but it can apply to ranged attacks. So if you're going to use a bow, you could use Pierce as well, whereas thrust.
Okay, so that would just up the damage.
Yeah, so it increases the damage by 1, but you'll still have to make a DC 3 attack roll.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna use Pierce and hope to God this works. And I actually hit him. I got 1 success. So
Cool. So you.
sword is medium weapon because it's one-handed.
It'll just depend on the category that you picked. So we can say that your sword is medium. That's fine. You could have light weapon swords, medium swords, heavy swords.
It's a medium weapon sword. I just stab him right through the gut. Just like, leave Billy alone, and just stab him
And
with the
your
slap
fire
down.
fire shroud is on right now. Your shroud of
Yeah.
flame. So I think shroud of flame. Double check. I think he takes like ambient fire damage as well, because you were just on fire. So I'll say, because I know Shroud of Flame can deal up to 2 ambient damage. So I'll say if you try to like hug someone or something, it'll do the max. It'll do 2, but with just a melee attack, it'll just do 1 ambient damage. But you also use Pierce, which does another damage. So you're dealing a total of 6 with your medium sword.
Nice.
So you can describe a very, very devastating but not quite lethal strike with your sword that includes some fire damage.
Well, I see him kind of hovering over the cart, and he's looking at Billy, and he gets this cruel smile on his face, like I'm gonna steal it. And she kind of looks up and she sees the goblin looking at Billy, and she's like, "Leave Billy alone!" And her flames kind of erupt as she stabs him straight through the gut. And yeah, as her flames are up, they kind of lap around like his feet and stuff, obviously because he's sitting quite a bit higher than she is. They lap around his feet, and it starts to burn his, like, is he wearing shoes?
No.
We'll say he's got one sandal on.
It kind of burns the sandal to a crisp, but it just kind of disintegrates and falls off.
Good,
And she
'cause I have
stabs
3
him through the
shoes that I
gut.
need to get rid of.
I was just.
Okay, we are back to Josh. So once again, Josh, there is one goblin who seems focused on you. He's got like a bandolier of those darts that he could be throwing. You heard some kind of like electric explosion to your left as Will is sort of dealing with what was 2 goblins, and now it's 1 goblin, as well as a sort of singed corpse sort of rolling sideways. His crystals kind of like teetered over, but he's still sort of strapped in. And then you've heard Cord. You've heard Jeckley shout out in pain more than once as he's being borne down upon by 2 goblins near the other cart.
Cool.
And you just hear her like, "Leave Billy alone!"
Would I? I understand if won't let me nick for this session, but I was wondering if I could change my energy gauntlet. It's a temporal energy gauntlet. I named it. And I was wondering if I could change it to a heavy weapon, because it's sort of I
think the only restriction is that as a nano, I don't think you gain proficiency with heavy weapons. You can still use them, just the DC increases by 1 automatically when you try to hit with them. So we'll double check. For now, we'll count it as a medium. You may even be restricted as a nano to only light weapons, so you may already be supposed to be working at a deficit, but we'll check for next time. The types of weapons you could start with is based on your type.
It says when I am practiced with light weapons. That's all it said. So I think I'm at a disadvantage anyway.
But yeah,
But for
you can make it a heavy weapon. It's just base DCs go up by 1 each time. So these guys would be trying to hit level 4s instead of 3s, which might account for the sort of eclectic nature of it, but it does 6 damage.
Cool. Okay, so I would like to, make an attack. So what attack am I doing, sir?
Yeah, so whichever of the goblins you want to attack, the base is 3. Because your gauntlet is a heavy weapon, the base is going to go up to 4.
Cool. I will make an attack, and it's a nat 1.
Whew, okay, describe the attack you were trying to do.
It was basically like again, like I essentially so like behind me, like I imagine like he charges at me, and behind me I open up a rift to basically try and expel him, like just to banish him to another place somewhere, and it like splits open, and I duck out the way, he shoots through, but then I imagine he appears like right in front of me, and I'm just like, oh shit, and then he gets like a hit in on me or something.
Yeah, sure, that sounds good to me. So make a speed defense roll, base of 3. So say you accidentally like teleport him directly in front of you instead of into another dimension.
I dodge him once, but then like as I'm getting up, he reappears right in front of me, and I'm like, that's
shit.
It's like I'm playing. Wow, a second nat 1.
Okay, so double damage from this guy. You take 6 might damage as he thrusts one of his darts sort of full on right through your shoulder from behind.
That's it. I'm down to 0. That's cold.
Okay, so when when you're at 0 in one of your 3 stat pools, you become impaired. If you are at 0 in 2 of your stat pools, then you fall unconscious, and then if all 3 get to 0, you die.
So what you need to do is actually check the impaired box on your character sheet, because I didn't do that on the Origin game. So I didn't actually count as being impaired.
Yeah, it's all good. I did look it up. All impaired does is anytime you want to spend points, it costs 1 additional point for every use. So every ability that you're trying to use, every time you want to spend effort, it's always going to cost more.
Cool.
All right.
So you're
That's
not
even if
unconscious
you
yet,
want.
you're hurting.
Yeah. Yeah. He comes by and he proper full on hits me, and I go flying. As I'm flying through the air, I'm just like, this is not how I thought things were gonna go. This is really he has a moment, it's all in slow motion. He's like, this sucks. And then
As he reflects on the dart that's sticking out of his chest. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, I wish
I thought it was
someone.
on this side. This is the wrong side.
It's like, I've always wondered what that scar was, and why it hurts so much.
All right, Will, you would be up next. Obviously, there is a sort of an electrified corpse that's rolled sideways on its hovering pistol, and there's the goblin who threw that grenade-like object at you.
All right. I stride towards the goblin that threw that thing at me to go and kill him, because I'm not happy. Because that was the most dishonorable thing I've seen in a long time. Whilst my back was thrown, not even hand-to-hand combat.
Back was thrown. Ah, my back.
The hernia, the vicious hernia grenade.
So I'm gonna that's quite free, isn't it?
Yeah, base
So-
3, so your standard thrust for 7 damage.
Standard thrust, boys. Nope, that's not a success.
You can spend an XP to reroll if you like.
You know what? I'm pretty low on health, so I probably should do that. I did just gain an XP. So let me re-roll. See what we do. Yes, 1 success.
Cool. So you can describe a mortal wound to this guy.
Cool. I go for a chop down from the shoulder across his body, and kind of bring out my sword and let the blood flow down on the floor.
I'll say, because it's a masterwork sword, you can cleave him. You can actually cleave him. I mean, he's malnourished. His bone density is probably pretty poor. All these other factors we can come up with. You can just cut him diagonally in half.
Nice.
Cool. All right, now Cord.
That's
you've
why
got,
you eat your veggies, kids.
yeah, broccoli and Brussels sprouts.
Yep.
All right, Cord, you've got 2 bearing down on you. One with the shrapnel flail, and the other with a spear that just got a good poke into your side.
Okay, I am going to look at my character sheet. I don't have much. So there's one that stabbed my side and flailed my face back.
Yeah, we'll say you got flailed in the shoulder. The flail, shrapnel flail goblin is the one that you cut into the back of his leg. The one that speared you doesn't seem to have been injured yet.
I'm going to try to take my extended wrist blade and grab the chain of the flail and disarm him.
Okay.
And then if I roll high enough, try to attack again.
So you're gonna make it.
My main attack is disarming him with my thing.
Disarming, you're actually gonna stick the blade in the chain, is what you're saying?
I want to, because the chain is like right now a chain. I'm gonna twirl my wrist blade into it, and then as if it was like a rope, wrap my hand around it and pull it. I'm kind of wrap the blade into the chain, and try to pull it out of his grip. I'm not really sticking the blade into the chain link.
Yeah.
Disarm.
Disarm is fine, and then if you get high enough, you can as you're pulling it away, you can get a slice.
Yeah.
But the primary action is the disarm, not the attack. Okay.
Exactly. So it's going to be a speed. I'm going to reduce it to 8. It's at 3 now. It's at 2. Correct?
So it's actually going to be. So if you're just grabbing the chain to pull it, it's going to be a might task because he's holding on, and you're going to try and grab it and pull it out of his grip. So.
Okay. Oh, so I don't know if I want to do that in that case because
might task.
Actually, yeah, let's do it. Screw
Sure.
it. So my might pool is now at 2.
Cool.
When I'm using a blade, can I? No, that would be stupid. So it's 3. I'm reducing it to 2. I have a 19 for a success.
There you
That
go.
gives
So
me
you can
that
do the
extra
damage.
attack. Cool. So I do 2 damage.
Okay.
Awesome.
And he's now disarmed.
And he's disarmed.
Do you hold on to the chain, or do you just kind of like grab
No,
it,
I kind
throw it in
of.
the motion?
No, yeah. With that same motion, I want to. I bring the chain or the forearm blade. I grab it and I pull it across my body, like towards. If it's in my right hand, I pull it towards my left, like towards my ear, and then I use the momentum from words. Then I'm going to throw my arm back over to the right side, sliding it off the blade and just away from him. So
Cool.
like the disarm was across over my chest, and then the throw is letting it extend off to my right,
Sounds good.
sliding it off of the blade
Cool.
into the distance or wherever, hopefully hitting another goblin.
So he is going to respond by, because now we're into the goblin's turns. We'll start with you, Cord, because you just disarmed one. That goblin that you just threw his flail away, he's going to go after his flail. So he's
away.
going to sort of and try and maneuver as best he can towards that flail. He's going to use his turn to recover, sort of roll sideways. You notice these guys seem to be pretty proficient at riding these things. He kind of just throws his momentum, kind of like a kayak, to like get close to the ground, to grab the thing, and then throw it back, and righting himself on his crystal mount. But the goblin with the spear, who is still next to you, is going to try and make another stab with a shriek and a howl. So a speed defense task of 3.
All right, because my so I'm going to actually spend. I wasn't going to, but I know.
Okay, so you're gonna. So this is a cool. It's just a chat is tracking. The GM never rolls. I don't roll attacks. The players roll active defenses, which allows them to spend points to choose and prioritize on their own which attacks are more or less important to not get hit by. So in this situation, Jeckley's getting low on might points. He knows these weapons deal might damage, so he's going to like conscientiously or deliberately spend speed points to reduce the difficulty of dodging. So it's kind of like you can tweak your own AC in more urgent scenarios.
Yep.
Cool. So reduce the DC to a 2
My thoughts exactly.
on
Yep,
your
he
speed
does it
defense.
too. Nice.
And you still miss, so you're taking
So now
3
I'm
damage
impaired.
from this spear, and now spending any points costs more, as you are
Sweet.
impaired.
So I'm out of points in my might pool, but I have an extra point. I don't go to -1 in might, or do I move it to? I move it to another pool, right?
It transfers to the speed pool. So if you had 2 left, and you took 3 damage, 2 come off might,
Yep.
1 come off speed.
Great, and now I'm impaired, and I'm gonna go click that box.
Cool.
And now it sucks.
All right, Josh, the goblin that sort of got hiccuped through time, closer to you, managed to pop you with one of his darts. He's going to pull out another dart and try and stab you on the other side of the shoulder. The base difficulty speed defense task is going to be 3.
Cool. Speed.
So you can spend speed points if you like to reduce the DC, but otherwise it's a 3 roll.
I am going to. Yeah, no, I'm gonna. I'll take it on a. Was it a 3?
Yeah.
I'll take it straight. Oh, that's not good.
Okay, so you're
2.
now you're kind of like marionetted. He's got 1 dart in each of your shoulders.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck on both sides.
That's
All
where
right.
the other scar came from.
You take 3 might damage. Yeah, that's why I thought it was on that
Yeah,
side. Huh?
I'm like I knew it was that side. I'm not crazy. I'm lying on the floor and it's like quite clearly painful, but I turn to like someone who's like trying to fend off a goblin. I'm like, I told you, I knew it was left.
Okay, and Beth, the goblin that you slashed with your sword and also burned, that goblin that's over you is completely divested of any interest in fighting this flaming woman with a seriously sharp blade. So he is just going to do that deft kayak roll of his crystal and try and grab at the bundle that is Billy, and then put his way off. So he uses his action to grab Billy and start to move away. And now you get to take your turn.
I am going to stop him from doing it. And I want to, so what's propelling the
crystals exactly?
Each of the crystals has like a makeshift engine that's like leather strapped onto the back of it, that seems to be running on like very dirty fossil fuel.
Can I slice at one of the leather straps while to like knock the engine off while trying to stab him?
What I'll say is if your primary focus is making the attack on him, if you get a 19 or higher, then you'd be able to sort of swing it across that it'll cut one of the straps as well. If your primary focus is hitting the strap, then you won't deal damage unless you get high enough, if that makes sense. So whatever your priority is, then like success means you get it, and then on 19 or 20 you can have those minor effects as well.
I need to save Billy.
Go for the engine.
I'm gonna.
You can also spend
engine.
might points to reduce the difficulty of the attack.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend 3 might points to reduce the difficulty of the attack. Go for him. No, I'm gonna go for the engine to stop him
Okay.
flying away. And reduce the
So your base will be 2.
yeah. Oh.
Wow. Roll 20
You can
hates us to
you
Yeah.
can spend the
Right.
vomit XP to re-roll if
Yeah.
you want.
I-
the vomit XP.
Yeah, I'm
You have a
spending.
flashback to when he vomited, and you're like, "That was so cute. I must try again."
Yeah, and I'm gonna try again.
Nobody
Um,
takes my vomit baby away.
And I'm not gonna reduce difficulty this time though.
Oh no, it stays the same. So think of spending the XP.
It stays
It
back.
Yeah.
would stay as
Oh,
a
it's
2
back.
from your having spent
But
it.
either
Either way,
way,
you're good.
I got it. So
Cool. So you can describe that however you like. You make this thing basically crash into the ground and stop hovering.
and
My face when you kill Billy in a
but yeah,
crash.
and as the thing crashes into the floor, I kind of tuck my sword away wherever it's hidden that no one knows and grab Billy before it crashes into the floor. And it's just like, don't let the big bad guys take you away. You've got to bite them.
Thank you, Corey. Just whenever Beth talks to Billy, you can just respond. That's
You
fine.
got it. Way ahead of you.
Okay, that goblin is going to sort of turn back and see that its mount is no longer working, and it's just going to start run waddling as best it can, just in the other direction. It's just getting the fuck out of here.
They don't run; they just waddle.
Yeah,
Just
they
walk and then waddle.
They waddle quickly.
And
All
yeah,
right.
I put Billy back down, and it's like,
Didn't you just
stay
burn
there.
Bill? Didn't you just
No,
burn
because
Billy?
he's wrapped in my cloak, and the cloak's part of my clothing, so it's not okay.
All right, Josh, you are like double piked in the shoulders
Yeah.
against this goblin.
I do want to tell Josh, you can spend your action to recover points. Correct?
Yep, so recovery, you can recover 4 times a day. Each time you do it, it takes longer. The first time you recover only takes 1 action, so it's usable in combat. And recovering, you just roll a d6, add 1, and you can punch those points back into your pool.
Whichever
So
pool you
if-
want to.
Because obviously, when Josh took the last 3 damage, he had no might pool left. Does that then go into his speed pool?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd already done that. Yeah, I had. Please don't steal.
All right, Josh,
Yeah, cool. So I.
how do you respond or react? This goblin's already been wounded by your cavalry charge, but
Yeah,
he's fighting
yeah.
back.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, I'm gonna make another attack. This one's gonna be a bit more tasty. I'm just gonna see if it comes off first, and if not, like every time he does it, he has no idea what he's essentially doing. It's just he opens it up. He basically can sense like hostility and just directs hostility towards someone.
Okay, so as a heavy weapon, the DC goes up to 4 as your base, because you're not
Yeah.
proficient in it.
Cool.
Oh wow, that went real fast.
Nat 20.
Okay, so on a
Okay.
20, you can, I mean, yeah, so how it works is on 19 or 20, you can take minor and major effects. For weapons, a 17 or an 18, you can take like just 1 additional damage, although you can't really do flavor effects. On a 20, you can choose to add, 1, 2, 3, you can choose to add 4 damage instead of an effect. So total, you could be dealing 12 damage right now. It's irrelevant. As a heavy weapon, this is going to kill him anyway, so you can kill him however you like.
Cool. So what actually happens is, like, he's basically above me, and I'm just like, I managed to like pull myself up, and I imagine he readies another weapon, and then I just open up a rift, and there's a weird sort of like split, you look through and you appear to see some like really dark gothic sort of building. It looks like it's pretty much been entirely totaled, and you see what looks to be the back of a man with shaven head. He's got pointy ears, and he sidesteps. And as he sidesteps, you see what looks like to be a demon holding some kind of stone, and he holds the stone out and fires this horrific bolt of lightning. Max manages to just sidestep out the way, and the energy comes through the rift and just nails this guy. But it doesn't like hit the bike. It just hits him, and just he explodes and vanishes. And I look through, and there's a moment where like they make direct eye contact, like this demon thing and him, and he's just like, what? And then it closes, and he just goes, huh. And he's gonna try and get on this bike after pulling the spikes out of him.
Cool. What I'll say, in interest of time, but also narratively, makes perfect sense given the natural 20 on a heavy weapon, summoning a completely new and innovative, never seen before in Encounter Roleplay, a character who's going to blast with this stone of power. At the sight of this line of lightning that literally just incinerates everything in its path, these goblins are going to immediately just start shrieking and howling, and they are all going to disperse in all directions. And we are
Thank
at
you, Grace, for following.
I get to keep this bike, right?
Yeah, you guys could. I mean, that one particular mount is still intact. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it may not be like set, and it may need some tinkering from someone who can maybe talk to machines. I don't know,
exactly.
to make it hold your weight more so than the weight of a goblin.
So Josh
cool.
got a crystal motorbike, and I got a baby, not pterodactyl.
Sounds like Numenera to me.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
So-
stop there for this week. Given the time, Will, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch, once again for an excellent game. How do we feel about that, guys?
I
I
was just
enjoyed
telling-
myself.
I was just telling Will how much time flew by. It's crazy. I was like, oh, what? I thought we had another hour, and I was like,
It's been
oh,
3 hours.
Yeah, that's
Crazy fun.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun to have Josh and Beth's characters with us to complete the party formation, and that's funny interactions between our characters. I like it. So that was a lot of fun. But
It's
Go ahead.
absolutely no. I've just Irving Wolf. He didn't actually see. They didn't make eye contact. As long as they haven't seen each other, and they haven't, they don't know that there's no crossing of the streams. It's fine.
All right.
All right.
But it
So,
was just like
literally the
Moldar
stream.
missed Kai so many shots that I was just like, maybe that's an explanation. One shot just ended a parallel dimension.
She who opens the gates opened it, not Max.
Yeah, it wasn't even me. It was like,
Do you know when she was blind and trying to open the portal?
yeah, she just fucking opened a portal. Moldo fired for it. And somewhere else, a goblin bit the dust, literally.
Indeed. So we are back on Wednesday, are we not? For Out
We
of
are.
the Abyss with Orin, the dwarf, and 2 new characters. They are imprisoned in the Underdark by Drow, and they're going to have to find a way to escape their captors if they can. And then we're back on Thursday for more D&D 5e West Marches, which is going to be pretty exciting. And I believe James is joining us for that, so that should be fun. So plenty of stuff happen. Yeah. And yeah, we're going to have a pretty good time the rest of the week. So, guys, I hope you have enjoyed. If you haven't already entered our giveaway for the PHB, once again, exclamation point giveaway, go and win yourself one of those. And if you haven't already hit that follow button, please do. If you would like to ask us any questions or anything like that, you can tweet at us at EncounterRP and at RollDelinea on the Twitters. So please go ahead and do that. You can like our Facebook page as well. There you go for the link. And until next time, guys, try not to vomit all over your XP. And good luck opening interdimensional portals to Moldark and Kai. and
Never went wrong.
try not to roll too many net ones, of course, because we want to be here laughing when you do. So that is goodbye from myself. If you haven't already gone and followed and checked out Delinea's website, delinear.wordpress.com, then go ahead and do that, because it's great. Some good DM tips, great player tips, great loot tables, charts and stuff like that. So there you go, let's drop a link. And we will see you guys on Wednesday at 4 p.m. EST, 9 p.m. BST. Fairly well.